Okay, good morning everyone. Welcome to Byju's Exam Prep IAS. This is Sham Kakud here. Now, if there is no issue with the sound, can you please give me a thumbs up? Let me know that I'm audible to you so that we can start the discussion. Done. Thanks a lot. Let's start. So, yesterday, what we have done? Yesterday, we started with the concept of the introduction to economics. It's certain important concepts in microeconomics. Now, what are the concepts we have discussed? Starting with definition. What is economics? Economics is the science wherein the human behavior is studied whenever there is a scarcity of resources and we have to utilize these resources to achieve certain objectives, such as to achieve our needs. Then economics is divided into two parts, microeconomics and the macroeconomics. Microeconomics focuses on individual economic agents. For example, single company, or let's say a single household, etc. That's the scope of microeconomics. Whereas a macroeconomics talks about the aggregates, the overall, and that is, let's say, all the companies in India, all the houses in India, the total income, total expenditure, total production, etc. That is macroeconomics. One more technical terminology here. Microeconomics, right, is generally referred to as a price theory, and macroeconomics is referred to as a income theory. After that, we have discussed the idea of evolution of economy, or before that, four factors of production. What are the four factors of production? Land, labor, capital, entrepreneurship. Land refers to anything that is naturally available to us, such as surface of land, right? It's minerals which are there within the surface or under the surface of the land, etc. Then labor, human labor that we are going to use for having production of goods and services. Then capital simply means anything that is man-made. I hope you remember that. Anything that is made by us, man-made, that is called as a capital. And finally, the entrepreneurship. Entrepreneurship refers to the one who has taken the risk, invested money, put together all the resources, and wants to produce a good or a service so as to sell in the market. So, land, labor, capital, entrepreneurship. Then we have discussed the evolution of economy. That is basically from the idea of capitalism to socialism to basically mixed economy. And there itself, I hope you people have read the newspaper articles that was asked by me to read. That is basically the Hindu newspaper articles. Please do let me know. Did you people read the articles in Hindu newspaper yesterday? For example, anarcho capitalism, right? Are you able to relate what we are discussing in the classroom, and what the new president of Argentina is proposing, capitalism, etc., right? So I hope you understand. And before I go forward, today's Hindu newspaper articles, from Hindu, one is on the state of Kerala, right? Again, I'm basically referencing the Delhi edition, and because it is there in the Delhi edition, I'm pretty sure it will be there in all the other editions. In the page number 5, there is an article on Kerala. Kerala government has gone to Supreme Court of India alleging some issues related to central government financial allocation. Same, there is one more article regarding Kerala in the central page. Right, the central page, there is one more article regarding Kerala government. That is second. Third one is right, first and second both with Kerala. Third one is related to GST, business page related to GST. Right, there are two articles related to GST. Third and fourth are again related to GST. That is the fourth article. Fifth article, there is an article regarding RODTEP. I know for a fact, for many of you, these concepts are very new. Very new in the sense, this is your first class. Do not panic. Please do not panic, right? Suddenly you will read about article on RODTP, you'll panic saying that, sir, I don't know what is RODTP. Don't worry, we will cover it later. But what I'm trying to convey you people of is very simple. There are a lot of current affairs discussion that is happening related to economics that we are having in the discussion. So be aware of what are the current affairs, and because it is there in the current affairs, automatically all of these become very, very important. So I hope you understand. Before I go forward, these are the 5 articles from today's Hindu newspaper that you are supposed to read. Now, please do not worry. Some of you are asking, discuss GST, discuss right the budgeting, discuss RODTP. Again, not the agenda today. We will discuss. For example, right, budgeting. We will take up. There's a separate chapter on it. We will take it up. RODTP. I'll take it up when I take up international trade. Right, not today. Now, four factors of production, then the evolution of economies. That is capitalism, socialism, and mixed economy. Then we have discussed law of a demand, law of a supply. Law of a demand, very simple. The price and the quantity demanded are inversely proportional, are inversely related. Right? That is, the price goes up, the quantity demanded will go down, and price goes down, quantity demanded will generally go up. Why does it happen? We have discussed the income effect, the substitution effect, etc. yesterday. And the demand curve representation is downward sloping curve. Then after that, we have discussed the law of supply. Law of supply simply states that the price and the quantity supplied are directly related. That is, if the price of the commodity goes up, price of the product goes up, then the quantity supplied automatically will go up because the seller will be able to make more profits now. Right now, that is where we have discussed, or that is what we have discussed yesterday. Let me pick it up from there. Next concept I'll be discussing is the idea of movement along the curve and a shift of the curve. Movement along the curve and a shift of the curve. Now, what is the meaning of movement? What is the meaning of the term shift? Please understand. Yesterday we have discussed law of demand and law of supply. And in the context of both the demand as well as supply laws, we know the graphical representation is there. That is, in the context of law of demand, the curve is a downward sloping curve. And in law of a supply, the curve is an upward sloping curve. Now, before I go forward to the next point, let me see how many of you actually remember the discussion that we have had yesterday. Please tell me, in the context of a given good, will the demand representation, that is graphical representation, will it be a downward sloping or upward sloping curve? Wake up now. Please wake up. I'll repeat the statement. In the context of given goods, will the demand curve, will it be downward sloping or upward sloping? Thanks a lot. All of you, whoever has answered, okay, suddenly two people have answered wrong. My dear, in context of given goods, what is a given good? That was the last discussion, last point of discussion that we had yesterday. In the context of given goods, the price and demand are directly related. Yes or no? The price and demand are directly related. That is, if the price goes up, demand for the given good as well as Veblen good will go up. So if price and demand are directly related, how can you have a graph which is downward sloping? Don't you think the graph will be upward sloping? All of you are able to get it now? Most of you have answered correctly. Only 4 people answered wrongly. But at least now it should be clear. Price and demand, right, are directly related, which means the graph will be upward sloping. Right? So I hope you understand. Now come back to the discussion. Whenever you talk about shift of the curve and movement along the curve, point number 1. Whenever only the price of a particular product changes, you'll observe movement along the curve. I'll repeat the statement. Only when the price of the product changes, you'll observe movement along the curve. And whenever price remains the same, any other factor changes. I'll repeat. Whenever price remains price remains the same, any other factor changes, you'll observe shift of the curve. I'll explain with an example. Again, you can apply this in the context of both the demand curve as well as supply curve. Do not go to the extent of drawing the curves. UPSC will not ask you that. But let me take example of a demand curve and let me explain it. Now, let's start. This is the original demand curve. Please have a look at this. This is original demand curve. And yesterday, I hope you remember, I've told you how the demand curves are drawn. For example, if you remember, I said, let's say, right, your income is this much at price of this much, or at the price, market price of this much. you'll be able to purchase these many units. That is, if you remember, I take an example of 100 rupees, correct? I take an example of 100 rupees. If the price of the product is 20 rupees, you will demand quantity 5 units. And if the price is 25 rupees, you will demand quantity 4 units. And I said, you will take these coordinates, draw the demand curve. So let's say this is original demand curve. Now let's assume the price remains the same. I hope you understand my point here. Let's assume price remains unchanged, but your income changes. I'll give an example also. Please look at the table here. Example 1. Let's assume your right. Let's say price remains the same, but your income changes. That is, at 10 rupees, when your income was 60 rupees. I hope you understand. At 10 rupees price per unit and your income was 60 rupees, how many units you'll be able to purchase? You'll be able to purchase 6 units. All of you okay with this? You'll be able to purchase 6 units. And if the price of the product is 15 rupees, you'll be able to purchase 4 units. So using that, imagine I've drawn this demand curve. Using this data, imagine I've drawn the demand curve. Now let's say the income changes. Let's say the income changes. And just to make it much more simple, let's assume this is 4 units. Let's assume this is 6 units. And the graphical representation will go like this. Done. And this will be when the price of the product is 10, and this will be when price of the product is 15. Now let's say your income increases to 90 rupees. From 60 rupees, your income increases to 90 rupees. Now please tell me, at 10 rupees per unit only, at 10 rupees per unit, will you not be able to purchase more quantity of the goods here? All of you okay with this? At 10 rupees per unit, at 10 rupees only, now you will not purchase 6 units. Now you will purchase 9 units. So rather than point being here, which was the original point, now can I say the point can get shifted to the right? All of you okay with this? Rather than point being here, now the point will get shifted to the right. Now, if the price of the product changes to 15 rupees, when your income is 90 rupees, now don't you think again, rather than purchasing 4 units, now you'll be able to purchase 6 units, which is nothing but rather than being the point here, rather than remaining rather than having the point remain here, now the point will get shifted again to the right, which means right. So understand this. The new points are one here and the second here. If I connect both of these points, now have a look at what has happened to the demand curve. Please look at it. What has happened to the new demand curve? Can I simply say, because of change in the income? I'll repeat, because of change in the income, now the new demand curve has shifted right to the original demand curve. Let me know, all of you okay with this? I'll repeat the statement here. Because the income has changed, price remains the same, 10 rupees, 15 rupees, price of the product is not changing. But because income has changed, now because of that, I'll be able to purchase more quantities at the same prices. And this will lead to shifting of the curve to the right. Please do let me know, all of you okay with this? Can vice versa also happen? Can the opposite also happen? That is, rather than income increasing, what if income falls down? What if rather than increasing, income will fall down? Rather than 60 rupees, your income will fall down to 30 rupees. So can I say at 10 rupees, instead of buying 6, now you'll be able to purchase 3 units. At 15 rupees, instead of purchasing 4 units, now you'll be able to purchase only 2 units. Now plot these, new points. Plot these new points. You'll basically get these particular points in this way. Connect the dots, you will get a new demand curve. So what has happened here? Because of reduction in the income, prices not changing, prices remaining the same, the demand curve will shift to the left. So all of you okay with this? The demand curve either can shift to the right or shift to the left. Same thing you can apply even to supply curve. Even to supply curve. Keep the price same, but change the other factors. Change the other factors. Automatically supply curve can also shift to the left as well as to the right. This is called as shift of the curve. This is referred to as shift of the curve. And please look at the points here. It will happen when the price of the product remains the same. Price does not change, but any other parameter apart from the price will change. For example, taste and preference, income of the customer, right? Even in case of supply, price of the related goods are changing, etc. So whenever any other parameter except the price of the product changes, either you will observe a shift in the demand curve or shift in the supply curve. And whenever there is a shift, please remember the terminologies. We use increase or decrease. Rather than using any other term, we use the terms increase or decrease. Now, how do we use the terms increase or decrease? Let me show it to you. Let me show it to you. Please look at the table now. Please look at the table. Can I say because my income has increased from 60 rupees to 90 rupees, the quantity demanded has increased from 6 units to 9 units? Let me know. I'll repeat the statement. Because my income has increased from 60 rupees to 90 rupees, assuming the price of the product is 10 rupees, the quantity demanded also has increased from 6 units to 9 units. Right? So increase or decrease. Right? These are the terminologies which are used. Please be very careful once this question was asked in the UPSC prelims, which I'll show you today. Don't worry. Now come to the other terminology. Right? Movement along the curve. Movement along the curve. Movement along the curve is observed when all the other factors remain same and only price changes. I'll repeat the statement. Movement along the curve will happen when price changes and all the other factors remain same. Right? For example, let me show this to you. Let me show this to you. Right? If you remember yesterday, I'll take the same number. 100 rupee was your income. 100 rupee was your income. Let's say right now the price of the product is 20 rupees per unit, and you will be able to demand, quantity demanded will be how much? It will be 5 units. And if the price changes to 25, right, expands to 25, rather than having a quantity demand of 5 units, now you can demand only 4 units. Now take these parameters. Let's say this is point L. Let's say this is point L. This is right, basically point M. Right, point L, point M. Right, that is if you take point L, it will be having what coordinates? It will be having 5, 20. It will be having 5, 20. And if you take coordinate or point M, it will have a coordinate of 4, 25. Now please tell me, if price will change from 20 to 25, don't you think I will move upwards on the demand curve? Please look at the demand curve and do let me know. If the price will change from 20 to 25, will I not move upwards? Upwards means above the earlier point. Upwards on the demand curve. And let's say hypothetically, let me change certain numbers so that you understand further. If the price will, right, let's say contract to 12.5 rupees. Price will contract to 12.5 rupees. Income does not change, remains the same 100 rupees. Now can I say quantity demanded will be 8 units? Correct? Quantity demanded will be 8 units. I'll call this basically as point N. That is 8, 12.5. Now again, please tell me, If the price will fall down, if the price will contract to 12.5 rupees, I will arrive at point N. I will arrive at point N. Can I say I am moving downwards on the demand curve itself? Is it okay? I'm moving downwards on the demand curve, which essentially means whether I go upwards or downwards, I will always keep on falling on the line that is the demand curve. I will always be on the line that is the demand curve. Neither I will go right of the line that is demand curve, neither I will go left of the demand curve. And it will not happen. Neither can you go right of this demand curve, not to the left of the demand curve. Why? Please understand here. Prices, I hope you understand, at a particular level, prices are not, prices are changing, but nothing else is changing. For example, if income changes, please do let me know now. Rather than having an income of 100 rupee, rather than having an income of 100 rupee, what if income will become 125 rupees and the price also changes to 12.5? Just let me know. Think of it. Rather than having 100 rupees, now the income will basically become 125 and the price will fall down from 20 rupees to 12.5 rupees. Can I simply say, in that case, rather than having a demand of 8, now I will have a demand for 10 units. I will have a demand for 10 units. And when I have a demand for 10 units, this particular point N will not remain here. Point N can actually get shifted to the right of the original N. All of you okay with this? So again, I'll repeat it. Movement means, I'll repeat the same. Please understand this. Movement means I will always be falling on the line. I will always keep on falling on the line. You can pick up any price, any quantity demanded. The point will always fall on the line. That is movement along the curve. You can go upwards in the demand curve or downwards in the demand curve. That is called as a movement along the curve. And some of you are asking, sir, the demand curve was written like this only. So obviously it will not shift. You are absolutely right. The way I've drawn the demand curve is by considering all these parameters only. That is, at price 12 rupees 50 paisa, how much is the quantity? At 20 rupees, how much is the quantity? At 25 rupees, how much is the quantity demanded? Absolutely right. But the point is very simple here. If I make a change in the price, the new quantity demanded, again the point will lie on the curve. You can go here, you can go here, doesn't matter. If you keep on changing the price along the y-axis, the new coordinates, the x and y coordinates, x comma y, the new coordinates will always fall on the line itself. That is the meaning of the term movement along the curve. So I hope all of you are okay with this. Whenever you talk about movement along the curve, it simply means price changes, nothing else will change. Price changes, nothing else will change. And the technical terms that we use is the term contraction and expansion. For example, I'll use it in the statement. Please do let me know now. If the price will contract to 12.5 rupees per unit, then the demand will expand to 8 units. I'll repeat the statement. Look at the table and please do let me know. If the price will contract to 12.5 rupees per unit, then the demand will expand to 8 units. And if the price will expand to 25 rupees per unit, then the demand will contract to 4 units. Right? So this is how the technical terms are used, right? Basically in the context of movement as well as a shift of the curve. Okay, these are technical terms. Please remember, questions have been asked earlier by UPSC based on this. Again, in prelims, right? Don't try to remember the graphs, remember the technical calculations, tables, etc. for mains, because generally UPSC doesn't ask questions on these concepts in the mains, but prelims, yes. Now, let me go to the next concept, the different types of goods. Different types of goods. There are different classifications. Two classifications we have discussed yesterday. Let me know whether we have discussed this yesterday or not. one classification that we have discussed is substitutes and complementary. Correct? Substitutes and complementary. And the second classification that we have discussed is a Giffen and Veblen. Exceptions to law of demand. Giffen and Veblen goods. Now there are a couple of more classifications. Let's try and understand. First one is based on the income, normal goods and inferior goods. Normal goods and inferior goods. Now based on the income, right? What do you mean by this? Whenever the income changes, please do let me know whether this you have observed in your house or not. Whenever your income changes, you'll start consuming more of certain product and you will reduce the consumption of certain product. Correct? Am I correct or not? Whenever your income will start changing, either increase or decrease. It can be either ways, either increase or decrease. Whenever your income changes, you'll start consuming more of a certain product and lesser of certain product. Right? That connection will give you two types of goods, normal goods and inferior goods. What is the concept of normal goods? Whenever income and quantity demanded of a certain good move in the same direction. All of you okay with this? Whenever income and quantity demanded of a certain good moves in the same direction. That's more important. Same direction means what? Your income goes up, demand for a particular good will also go up. And your income goes down, demand for a particular good will also go down. Right? Such types of goods are called as normal goods. Instead of saying this, we will also use a term whenever income and demand changes are positively related. Correct? Whenever income and demand changes are positively related, such goods are called as normal goods. You'll ask me, sir, what is the example of this? Please do let me know. If everybody in India will start earning more, don't you think automatically the demand for ACs will start increasing? Let me know. Think of it and do let me know. If all of us start earning more, the demand for cars will start increasing. Does it make sense to you? Reason being, if people will start earning more, again, I'm talking whole of India. Don't take only one example and start dissecting the example here. If the whole of India starts earning more, automatically everybody wants to purchase a certain products such as cars, ACs, etc. So such goods are generally referred to as normal goods. Normal goods. What about inferior goods? What about inferior goods? Whenever income and demand are inversely related, that is, income and demand are negatively related, such goods are called as inferior goods. In simple terms, if income goes up, demand will go down. If income goes down, demand will go up. What are the examples? Best example, public transportation. I'll repeat it. Best example for this is public transportation. Now, if I'm earning a lot of money, if all of us are collectively earning huge amount of money, our salaries are increasing, rather than traveling in a bus, we would prefer to travel in our own car. Correct? We would prefer to travel in our own car. But what if our incomes will start dropping? We start experiencing loss of jobs or reduction in the salaries, etc. Don't you think at that point of time, many of us will simply say, why to simply travel by car? It is too costly. I'll have to pay a lot of money for the fuel. Rather than this, I will take public transportation. All of you will agree with me? Or else, even in case of food consumption, if my income will start declining, if my income is cut, I will lose the salary, etc. Don't you think a lot of us will change our consumption habits? That is, rather than purchasing a rice which is costing us, let's say 50 rupees a kg, 80 rupees a kg, we will change our consumption to an inferior quality rice. We can even shift to consumption of millets such as jowar, bajra, etc. So that is basically the idea. Income and demand are moving in opposite directions. Income and demand are moving in opposite directions. So these are inferior goods. Can we go forward now? Anybody has a problem, please do let me know. Can we go forward? Income and demand, opposite direction. Please remember that. Right? Negative relation, positive relation. That should be the point of right understanding for you. Now, this is one side. Now, please tell me, all of you will agree when I say given goods are very inferior goods? Let me know. Given goods are very, very inferior goods. Inferior goods. That is, these are the goods which are consumed mainly by poor people. Mainly by poor people. Now, let me give you one statement. Understand this carefully. Can I now say all given goods are inferior goods? But vice versa may not be true. I'll repeat the statement. Can I say given goods are inferior goods? Right? All given goods are inferior goods, but vice versa is not correct. That is, all inferior goods are not given goods. These kind of confusing statements might be used by UPSC. Please be very, very careful. Please be very, very careful. UPSC tends to confuse you with these kind of statements. Now, next, based on the utility. Utility means benefit. There's a concept of utility. In fact, in microeconomics, those who have started reading microeconomics, the chapters that I've told, you'll come across a concept of utility theory. Don't worry, don't read it in complete. It's not at all relevant for UPSC GS paper 3. Utility simply means benefit. Utility simply means benefit. Right? The utility term generally refers to satisfaction or the benefit that we can derive. Now, based on the utility, there are two goods, merit goods and demerit goods. Merit goods as well as a demerit. Now, what is this merit and demerit? Merit goods are those goods, the benefit of consumption. When you consume these goods, the benefit will not only be given to the consumer, the benefit will also go to the non-consumers. I'll explain how. Listen carefully. Merit goods are those goods which will provide benefits. Whenever you consume more of it, it will provide benefit not only to the consumer but also to the non-consumers. Sir, how? What is the use of it, etc.? Let me explain it. Let's say in India, all the people are very highly skilled. All the workers are very highly skilled as well as very highly educated. Education plus very good skilling. Now, if everything else works out, can I simply say because of a very good education they have and because they have got skill set, they will get good jobs in Indian economy? Yes or no? They'll be able to get good jobs, good paying jobs. And when they get good paying jobs, do you think whatever salary is earned by the person, only the person will use the salary, or the benefit of this high salary or good salary will be given to members of the household as well? Think of it. Right? Don't you think if I'm earning good amount of salary, I will provide the benefit of this even to my members in the household? It could be my spouse, children, or even to my parents, etc. In terms of, let's say, quality health care, quality food consumption, quality of, right, let's say, living, etc. So now tell me, if there is very good education provided, along with, of course, right, skilling is there, right, let's say jobs are available, don't you think the benefit of good education will provide benefit to me as well as my house members? That is one. And second, if all of us are having good education plus a skilling level, don't you think even the producers in the economy will get the benefit of it? How? They will hire us, we will have more productivity, we will produce more, and contribute to the economy. So now tell me, right? Healthcare, education, sanitation, more the consumption of these goods and services, don't you think it will provide benefit to the customer, that is the consumer, as well as non-consumer? All of you okay with this? Right? It will provide benefit not only to the consumer, but also to the non-consumers. Anybody has a problem, please do let me know. Now, before I go forward to the next type of a good, there is one term, spillover effect, externality or spillover effect. Now, what is this externality or a spillover effect? Let me explain this. I'll take current affairs example. All of you tell me. The term spillover effect or externality simply means there are two events which are taking place. There are events which are taking place which are unrelated, which are not related to each other. But because of the one event, the impact of that will be felt on the second event. I'll give you example. Listen to me very carefully. Because of one event, the impact of that will be felt on the second event. The best example that I can think of in the current affairs is Russia-Ukraine war. Russia-Ukraine war. Now, please tell me, is India anyway connected to Russia-Ukraine war? Is India party to Russia-Ukraine war? Are we saying fight? Both of you fight. I will support this party. I want you to fight this person, etc. No way. We are no way connected. We are not promoting it, etc. We are not a party to the war. But now tell me, are we not feeling the burden of Russia-Ukraine war? Are we not being affected by Russia-Ukraine war? Of course, yes. We are being affected. Now, some of you will be confused. Some of you will simply say, how, sir? I don't see any connection between both of them. There is a connection. Whenever there is a war like this, right? Simple example, what will happen to crude oil prices? What will happen to crude oil prices? Crude oil prices will start increasing. It will reach at a very high level. And we, that is India, imports 80 to 85% of crude oil requirement. Now, please tell me, because Russia and Ukraine are fighting with each other, crude oil prices will go up. We import it. Don't you think now we will have to pay more money for crude oil imports? We are not a party, but we are being affected. All of you okay with this? I'll give you one more example. Let's say in case of Europe, right, the whole economy is destroyed. Again, I'm not saying it is happening. Let's assume the economy is destroyed, right? Productivity falls down, companies are shutting down, people are losing jobs, etc. Don't you think that will have an impact on exports from India? All of you agree? Don't you think that will have an impact on exports from India? Of course, yes, that will have an impact on exports from India, right? So one event which is having an impact on another event, both seem unrelated, but right, please understand there will definitely be an impact. That is called as an externality or a spillover effect. And please remember this, externality or a spillover effect can be positive also, can be negative also. It can be positive, it can be negative, right? I've given you examples of negative externality. What is a positive externality? Exactly opposite. Let's say Europe, right? More and more companies are set up in Europe. People are earning more incomes in Europe. Now, don't you think if people are earning more incomes, automatically exports from India will start increasing? Correct? All of you able to connect the dots here? Right? So I hope you understand. There can be negative externality, there can be positive externality as well. Now, please tell me based on this, can I say, merit goods will have a positive externality? Let me know. Merit goods will have a positive externality. They have positive externalities, positive spillover effects. Come to the second, demerit goods. Come to the second type, demerit goods. Exactly opposite now for merit goods. In case of demerit goods, more the consumption of demerit goods, it will not only harm the consumer, it will also harm the non-consumers. It will harm the consumers as well as non-consumers. For example, right, early morning, right, alcohol as well as the tobacco products. Alcohol and tobacco products. Sir, how alcohol consumption will harm the non-consumers? Let's say hypothetically. Now I will have, let's say, a bottle of alcohol. Hypothetically, and just to make you understand it easily, I'm taking this example. Now let's say I will have a bottle of alcohol straight on the rocks, no water. And I'll simply stop the class. I'll take my car and start driving. Question number one. Is there a possibility that I will go hit a pole? Correct? Is it not going to harm me? Of course, yes. Even if I don't hit a pole, consumption of alcohol is bad. Right? If you have seen any movies, you will see a disclaimer. Consumption of alcohol and tobacco products is injurious to health. It will harm me. But tell me, when it is going to be right harmful for me, is there a possibility that I will take the car, hit someone, or else my productivity in the work will go down? I'll be removed from my job. I will lose my salary. So it is not going to just affect me, it is going to affect people around me as well. So all of you okay with this? So consumption of the demerit goods is not just going to harm me. It is not just harmful for me. It is going to have a negative impact on non-consumers as well. Right? That is basically demerit good. Now, can I simply say demerit goods will have negative externalities? Demerit goods will have negative externalities or negative spillover effect. So merit goods, positive spillover, and demerit goods, negative spillover. Now, some of you, when I took the example of Russia-Ukraine war, some of you started asking, sir, but I'm purchasing right oil from Russia at a cheaper price, etc., etc. That was one example, my dear. That was one example. I can take multiple examples related to Russia-Ukraine war. Please tell me what happened to the global supply of food grains because of Russia-Ukraine war. Think of it. What happened to the supply of food grains because of Russia-Ukraine war? Because I'll tell you the fact. Ukraine is one country which is important in terms of agriculture production. Agriculture production, wheat supply. Lot of wheat was supplied from Ukraine. Supply of the wheat from Ukraine basically was stalled for many months. Supply got disrupted. There was a concern regarding food security in many of the countries because of Russia-Ukraine war. What happened to the prices of fertilizers in the international market? And by the way, when we discuss subsidies, you will understand it. We import fertilizers as well. We import fertilizers as well. Right? So I hope you understand. Right? For many of these months, we have been affected. Now we have entered into an agreement with Russia where we are purchasing cheaper oil, etc. That is well and fair. Right? But I hope you understand. Initially, we were affected. Even today, we are affected because of fertilizer prices also. So that is basically the idea of merit goods as well as demerit goods. Can we go forward? Can we go forward? Any issue with merit as well as a demerit good? Okay. Next one is public goods as well as private goods. Public goods as well as private goods. Now let me start. What is this public good? What is this private good? Now understand two very important features. One is called as rivalry and excludability. Rivalry and excludability. Slightly confusing. Listen carefully. Once you listen, it will become very easy for you. Now, let's start. Imagine you will go to a shop early morning. I know. Imagine you will go to a shop. You want to purchase this packet of gems. Can everybody see the packet of chocolate that I'm holding? You want to purchase this packet of gems. Now, please tell me, will you pay money for it or not? First question. Will you pay money for it? Answer is yes. Now, I will come to the same shop. I will ask the shopkeeper to give me a packet of gems, but I'll say, I will not pay money to you. I'll say, give me a packet, but I'll not give you any money. Right? Will the shopkeeper give the packet to me? Shopkeeper says, go home, get money, I will not give it to you. This is called as excludability. This is called as excludability. Excludability means what? Those who will pay can get access to the good or a service, and those who will not pay money for it can be excluded from its consumption. All of you okay with this? Let me know. Very simple concept, but understand it once. Once you understand, you will remember it throughout your lifetime. Pay money, you can get access. Do not pay money, you will be excluded from the consumption. Now, second, rivalry. Rivalry. What do you mean by rivalry? Imagine in the shop, right? 5 of these packets were there. In the shop, 5 packets of jumps were there. Now, when you go to the shop, purchase 1 packet, can I say the number of packets which are available for others to consume has gone down? Let me know. Very simple. Okay. There are 5 packets. You will purchase 1 of it. Can I say 1, because you have purchased it, you will consume it? And second, the number of packets which are there in the shop for others to consume has gone down. This feature is called as rivalry feature. Any problem with rivalry as well as excludability, please do let me know now. Right? Any problem with excludability and rivalry? Excludability means those who do not pay can be excluded from the consumption. Rivalry means because you purchase it, you pay money and you purchase it, you will consume it. You have the right to consume it now. But when you're consuming it, it also means this packet is not available for me. This packet is not available for anybody else in the market. It is available for you. And number of packets which are there in the market now has come down. It has reduced now. Right? That is a concept of rivalry. Now, remember this. Let me start with public goods and private goods. Private goods are rival as well as excludable. Private goods are a rival as well as excludable. That is, let's say you are having a mobile phone in your hand now, correct? You are having a packet of biscuit in front of you, right? The fan is rotating or the tube light is on. Now, please tell me, can I say all these goods are private goods? You'll pay money to purchase a biscuit packet. Does it mean it is available for all of us? Think logically. Does it mean it is available for all of us? No, it is available only for you. If you do not pay money, the shopkeeper will not give you the packet of biscuit. So I hope you understand private goods, right? I can give you a number of examples. Please look at left and right in your room, right? The TV, the washing machine, the AC, refrigerator, right? The car, the bike, bicycle, right? Your shirt, your mobile phone, right? The pen that you're using right now, holding in your hand, right? All these are private goods. Can we go forward? All these are private goods. Now come to the public goods. Come to public goods. Now, whenever I say public goods, some of you assume that, I repeat, some of you assume that public goods means always government. Not necessarily. Not necessarily. Right? Understand this very carefully. Public goods, right, again, within public goods also, there are something called as a pure public good. The public goods generally will have 2 features. These are non-rival as well as non-excludable. These are non-rival as well as non-excludable. Is it okay? Non-rival as well as non-excludable. How so? Let me explain it. Imagine this is your house. Okay, imagine this is your house. And right again, adjacent to your house, many houses are there. In front of your house, there is a road. All of you agree? In front of your house, there is a road. Now, please tell me, if you are walking on the road, if you are standing on the road or walking on the road, etc., do you pay money for it? Think of it. Do you pay money for it? Absolutely no. You are not paying money to walk on this road. Right? Again, some of you will basically, as expected, some of you will say, sir, tax. My dear, please tell me, I'm talking about a common road. I'm not talking about a national highway. Right? Did I say it's a national highway? Let me know. Did I say this is a national highway? I'll take the example later. Now, some of you will say, but sir, I've paid taxes. Right? I've paid taxes, hence I'm walking on the road. My dear, you have paid tax. I have not paid any tax. Does it mean I'm not allowed to walk on this common road? Let me know. Think logically. Always think logically. You are walking on this road. It's a common road, right? You are walking on this road. You have paid taxes. Very good. You are a very good citizen of India. I have not paid any tax. Will government tell me you are not allowed to walk on this road? Will government tell me that? Absolutely no. Government cannot tell me. Why? This is a common road. Common roads are for everyone. It is for everyone. Whether you are paying taxes or not paying taxes doesn't matter. It is there for everyone. So all of you okay with this? Now please tell me, this common road that I'm talking about, is it excludable? Think of it. This road example I'm talking about, is it excludable? Absolutely no. It is not excludable. Non-excludable. Now second, because you are walking on the road, does it mean the road is available to you and nobody else is allowed to walk on the road? Does it reduce the availability of road for others? No. You are walking on the road, I can also walk on the road. Some of the people can, right, take a bike on the road. Some of the people can sit, all right, basically on the pavement of the road, assuming there are no vehicles. So I hope you understand. You are consuming the service, and along with you, I am also consuming. Somebody else is also consuming. Just because you're consuming, it is not unavailable for others. It is still available for others as well. And now I hope you understand. Public goods are non-rival, non-excludable. Best example is defense. Defense services provided by the government. Please tell me, defense services is only for taxpayers in India, right? Our soldiers who are standing on the border, they are going to protect only the taxpayers, right? Non-taxpayers, they'll be thrown open for enemy attack. Of course, no. Whether you have paid tax, not paid tax, doesn't matter. And if defense person is or defense personnel, if they're providing protection to person X, it doesn't mean there is no protection to person Y. It is being provided for whole of India, whether you pay taxes or don't pay taxes. Right? What about street light? Let me know. What about street light? Right? Again, assuming it's a street light which is there on a common road. It's there on the common road. So street light, can you consume the street light services? Yes. Can I consume the street light services? Yes. Do I have to pay money for it? Absolutely no. Right? So the street light, law and order, that is police protection, defense services, all these are called as public goods. All these are referred to as public goods. All of you okay with this? All of you okay? Now let me give you certain, right, basic alterations here. I took example of a common road. Now rather than common road, what if it is a national highway where toll collection is there? Let me know. Think of it. What if it is a national highway where toll collections is there? Can it become a public good now? I hope you understand. Right? I'll give you many other examples. In fact, all the goods cannot clearly be defined under public as well as private, because there are certain gray areas, certain alterations are there. That is, have a look at it. There is one classification called as common goods, and there is one more classification called as club goods. That is public goods, pure public goods. Generally, we say these are non-excludable as well as non-rival. But whenever excludability factor changes a bit, there is one more classification. Whenever rivalry factor changes a bit, there is one more classification. Let me explain it to you. Imagine there is a public library. I hope you understand public library means what? Imagine there's a public library. In this public library, right? In this public library, right? Let's say there is only one book of economics. Only one book on economics. Now you have gone to the public library. You are using, right? You are reading this economics book. Point number one. Answer to this question. When you go to a public library, do you pay money for entering the public library? Think of it and please do let me know. When you go to a public library, do you pay money? No, you don't have to pay money. But now what has happened? You have gone to that library, you are reading the book on economics. I will come to the same library. I also want to read the book on economics. Please tell me, is it available for me now? Is it available? The book is not available because you are consuming the service of the book. It is not available. So now can I say the book example that I'm talking about, it is non-excludable, but definitely rival? Yes or no? This book that I'm talking about, it is non-excludable, but rival, right? But definitely, yes, rival. Such goods are called as common goods. Such goods are referred to as common goods. All of you are okay with this? Can I go forward? Let me know. Can I go forward? Right? I hope you understand why this is called as a common good, because it carries right non-exclusivity factor, but it also has a rival factor. Come to the second example here, club goods. Now, very recently, World Cup matches were happening. Now, kabaddi matches are happening every day in the evening. Now, please tell me, if you want to watch it on, let's say, Disney Hotstar app, right? Again, right? Exceptions were given. World Cup matches were made free of a cost, but don't worry. You want to watch something on Netflix. You want to watch something, right, on, let's say, these classes on Byju's exam prep app, etc. Question number one, is it available free of a cost or will you have to pay for it? Let me know. Is it available free of a cost or will you have to pay for it? You'll have to pay for it. Correct? Which means it is excludable. All of you okay? Which means it is excludable. But second, just because you're watching a serial or a web series on Netflix, does it mean that the web series is not available for others? Think of it. Just because you're watching something on Amazon, you're watching something on Netflix, etc., does it mean that web series is available only for you? It is not available for others? Absolutely no. It is still available for others. So it is not rival, but it is excludable. All of you okay? It is not rival, but it is excludable. I can give you many more examples. What about telephone calls? What about telephone communications? Right? You have paid money. You are a subscriber. You are a customer of Jio. You have paid money for a particular package, which means it is excludable. But when you make a call, does it mean Jio network is only available for you? Nobody else is allowed to use Jio network. Of course, no, it is still allowed. Others are allowed to use simultaneously along with you. So it is excludable but non-rival. Such goods are called as club goods. All of you okay with this? All of you okay with this? Right? So excludability, non-excludability, right? Rival, non-rival. Now, some of you will twist this, right, into different things and then basically try to convince me that I'm wrong. For example, I've written example of electricity here. I've written one example, electricity. Now, generally, what is the meaning of example of electricity here? I assume you will have to pay for electricity. That is generally the convention. You'll have to pay for electricity. But when you're using, somebody else is also allowed to use it. But now some of you will simply say, sir, what if electricity is free of a cost? Think of it. What if it is free of a cost, given by government, free of a cost? Then very simple. If it is free of a cost, it is right non-excludable as well as non-rival. All of you will be okay with this. If electricity is provided free of a cost by the government to you, it is non-excludable as well as non-rival. right? Just like a highway, if there is a toll, if there's a toll on a highway, it becomes excludable. If there is no toll on a highway, it is non-excludable. So I hope you understand, right? Do not twist these examples. Context matters. Context. What is the context? That is very, very important. Right? For example, some of you are giving me examples. Sir, parks. Of course, yes. Right? Have you come across the parks in your city or parks in your place? Some of the parks have entry fees. Some of the parks do not have any entry fees. So it depends from one context to another context what kind of a good it will be. What kind of good it will be. Done? Can we go forward now? Can we go forward? All of you okay with this? Right? Now let me go to the one more classification. Next classification, intermediary and final goods. Intermediary and final goods. Intermediary and final goods. Now, what do you mean by final good? Simple. Final good simply means a good, that is good or a service which is available in the market for consumers, customers to purchase and consume. This product is not sold again in the market. Is it okay? I'll repeat it again. What is a final good? The product which is available in the market, which will be purchased and used by the consumer, used by the purchaser, not for selling purposes. For example, please tell me, you purchased a mobile phone. Did you purchase it for self-consumption or for reselling purpose? All of you okay with this? You purchased a TV. Again, I'm talking about a household. Did you purchase it for consumption or reselling purpose? You purchased it for consumption. You purchased a two-wheeler. For what? For roaming around the city, from going from point A to point B, not for reselling purposes. But on the other side, imagine you are a manufacturer, you are a producer. You will purchase a product. Rather than consuming it, what you will do is you will add value to it. Value it in the sense, I'll give a very simple example. Your friend is back. You will purchase a steel. Steel is manufactured by someone else. I hope you understand. Steel is manufactured by someone else. You will purchase a steel. For what purpose? To manufacture this bottle, you will sell the bottle to me. Now, I will start using the bottle for drinking water. So, can I now say the bottle is a final good? The steel that you purchased from another seller, another manufacturer is an intermediary good. All of you okay with this? All of you okay? The steel that you have purchased, it's an intermediary good. It is not for consumption purposes. It is for changing, value addition and creation of a good. So I will purchase this good. I'll start using it. This is a final good. The steel is an intermediary good. So intermediary goods are inputs. Very simple. Intermediary goods are inputs, are used for production purposes, whereas final goods are not used for production. These are used for consumption. Intermediary goods are used to manufacture and sell. Final goods are purchased and consumed. All of you okay with this? Can we go forward now? Examples of intermediary goods are aluminum, steel, coal, etc. Examples of final goods, look at your left, look at your right, look straight. You will see hundreds of examples of final goods. Now, again, some of you will start making lot of all of this complicated. And you will basically make all of this very complicated with your thinking. Why? Please tell me, let me ask you a very simple question. Tell me, milk is a final good or intermediary good? Let me see. Tell me, is milk a final good or an intermediary good? No, it can be both. Some of you saying right intermediary, some of you saying right final. No, it can be both. Why? Milk is used where? The context. Please look at the context. It can be used in a restaurant. It can be used in a hotel, which will make it intermediary good. It can be used right by a household, which will make it a final good. So I hope you understand. Do not try to complicate everything in economics. Do not try to complicate. Right? Most of you will try to prove me wrong by giving these kind of examples. Right? So I hope you understand. Look at the context. Please look at the context. Is it used for further production? Intermediary. Is it used for consumption? Final good. That's it. Okay. Right. So intermediary good as well as final goods. Substitute and complementary. Yesterday we have discussed this. This is the different classification of goods. Next concept is elasticity. Before I go to elasticity, if there is any doubt, please do let me know. Otherwise, I'll go to the next concept. Next one is elasticity. Coal is an intermediate good. Coal is used to produce electricity. Yes or no? Coal is used to produce electricity. Right? Again, coal which is used in the thermal power plants. I'm referring to that. Can we say normal goods are comfort items? Right? What do you mean by normal? You're basically talking about based on the income classification. If you're talking about based on income classification, please do not understand. Please understand all the normal goods cannot be identified as items which will provide comfort to you. Not necessarily. Okay. Example of given goods. I'll tell you again. Given goods are those goods where as the prices will go up, demand will also go up. Prices will go up, demand will also go up. Meaning what? I took an example. I took an example of bread and meat because the original idea, right? It was basically given by one of the economists by the name of Giffen. The original idea was based on England. And England, it was found that households, very poor households, consume two things: bread and meat. Bread is a very inferior good, very cheap, consumed by poor people, mainly by poor people. And other one is meat. When the price of the bread goes up, when the price of the bread goes up, you are a very poor person. You cannot consume more meat. You cannot consume it. So what you will do, you will reduce the consumption of the meat. But what will happen if you do not eat sufficient bread and also less meat? You will starve. All of you will understand. You will starve. You do not have sufficient energy. You might find it very difficult to even survive. So what these households do is, right, they will reduce the consumption of the meat even though price of the bread has gone up, because it doesn't have a very near substitute. They will increase the consumption of the bread. So the bread is a given good here. Bread is a given good. Okay, done. Okay, negative and positive spillover effect. Negative spillover effect means it is going to affect me as well as right, the others, non-consumers. Right, it's going to have an impact on me as well as non-consumers. For example, again taking a neutral example, if there is a war, if there is a war in the Middle East, right, please tell me. And some of you are saying, sir, can we attribute the same idea of a spillover effect to the Gaza versus Israel, right? The Palestine versus Israel, whatever issue is happening in this particular region, can we attribute the same idea of a spillover effect? Again, answer is yes, right? If the conflict which is happening between two countries now, again, whatever you want to call it as, so two countries, what if more and more countries get involved? Automatically, crude oil prices will go up, right? And there is a very small strip where a lot of crude oil transportation happens. The transportation will become very difficult. Insurance for transportation will start going up. Freight transportation will become very costly. International market will be affected because of the conflict that is happening. That is negative, and positive is exactly opposite of it. Okay, can we go forward now? Next concept is elasticity. Okay, next concept is elasticity. Now, what is elasticity? Please understand. Let me know. I'll ask simple questions now. If price of the product changes, will it have an impact on demand? Think of it and do let me know. If price of the product changes, will it have an impact on demand? Answer is yes. If your income changes, will it have an impact on demand? Again, yes. If price of a related good, if price of a related good changes, Will it have an impact on demand for either a complementary good or a substitute good? Answer is yes. If price changes, will it have an impact on supply? Answer is yes. So all of you okay with this? Right? So price of the product changes, demand can change, supply also can change. Price of related goods changes, so demand for a complementary good or a substitute good can also change. If your income changes, demand for goods can also change. Which means, please understand now, we are trying to measure under elasticity. Definition is there, I'll come to that. Let me explain first. When we try to measure with change in these variables, as a result of these changes, how much will be the change in the demand or supply? I'll repeat the statement here. With change in these variables, that is, if income changes, as a result of this, how much will be the change in the demand? That is a measurement. If price changes, how much will be the change in the demand? If the price of the substitute changes, how much will be the change in the demand? All of this is a measurement. So whenever we measure change in these variables, as a result of this, how much will be the change in either demand or supply? That measurement is called as elasticity. All of you okay with this definition? Please do let me know. Right? With change in one variable, as a result of this, how much is the change in demand or supply? That measurement is called as elasticity. That is called as elasticity. Done? Now there are four types of elasticities. There are multiple, don't worry, there are simply four types. Right? For GS paper 3, stick to four, more than sufficient. One is called as price elasticity of a demand, income elasticity of a demand. Third one is a cross elasticity of a demand. And fourth one is price elasticity of supply. Okay, there are four types. In fact, there are many more. You don't worry, stick to these four, more than sufficient. Price elasticity, cross elasticity, income elasticity, and finally, the price elasticity of supply. The first three are for demand, fourth one is for supply. Now, let me start with each of them. Look at the definition. Any problem with the definition, please do let me know. Elasticity measures change in the demand with change in the variable. What kind of variable? Either it can be change in the demand or change in the supply as well. When there is a change in a variable such as price, to what extent the supply will change? To what extent demand will change? If there is a variation in income, to what extent the demand will change? That measurement is called as elasticity. Okay. Now let me start with the first one. Price elasticity of a demand. Look at the formula. The formula is simple. How much is the percentage change in the demand divided by how much is the percentage change in the price of a good X. Same good. Okay. Now, what is the meaning? How do you understand all of it? Right? Understand this. Price elasticity of a demand. I'll take an example. I'll give an example of calculation, but my recommendation, do not run behind calculations. Do not by heart these calculations. It is of no use for UPSC. Now, just to show you how the numbers are derived, I'm giving you an example here. What is the formula? Can I write it as percentage change in the demand divided by percentage change in the price? Now, let's start. Imagine there is a good X. Imagine there is a good X. The price of the good changes from 10 rupees to 12 rupees. Price of the good changes from 10 rupees to 12 rupees. And now please tell me, again, don't take examples of a given good, exceptions. No, generally, if the price of the good goes up like this, can I say demand will automatically go down? All of you okay with this? Demand will automatically go down. Let's say from 500 units to 450 units. From 500 units to 450, which means, can I say the price has changed by 20%, demand has changed by 10%. Correct? Price has changed by 20%, demand has changed by 10%. Now substitute this in the formula. Substitute this in the formula. That will become sorry, 10% divided by 20%. Can I directly write it as 0.5? Let me know. Can I directly write it as 0.5? Again, you can use the calculator if your CSAT is weaker, but the number is simple, 0.5. What does it indicate? What does a 0.5 of price elasticity of demand indicate? Always remember this. Whenever price elasticity of a demand, whenever the number, the outcome is less than 1, whenever price elasticity of a demand is less than 1, such products are said to be having inelastic demand. Such products are said to be having inelastic demand. What do you mean by inelastic demand? It simply means change in the price is greater compared to change in the demand. Demand doesn't change by much. Price might change. Demand doesn't change by a larger number, larger percentage. Such products are said to be having inelastic demand, right? Very much inelastic demand. Now think of it. Will you have inelastic demand for various luxury products or basic necessities? Apply common sense, you'll get the answer. Will you have inelastic demand for luxurious products or necessary things? For example, clothing, food, electricity, salt, petrol, etc. Right now, tell me, right? Earlier, in the last 2 years, all of you will agree when I say prices of petrol has gone up. Let me know whether you agree or disagree. Price of petrol has gone up. Tell me frankly, do you think all of us put together, we have reduced the consumption of petrol by more percentage in India? Think, you'll automatically understand. You yourself, you tell me, if price of petrol has gone up by 30%, 40%, did you reduce the consumption of petrol by 50%? Did you reduce the consumption of petrol by 100%? No, it doesn't happen. It doesn't happen. Why? These are necessary for us. These are very much necessary. Clothing, food grains, electricity, all these are necessary for us. So can I say these kind of goods will have inelastic demand? All of you agree? These kind of goods are inelastic demand. Can I go forward now? Any problem, please do let me know. On the other side, if price will change by, let's say, 2%, if price will change by 2%, if it is a luxurious product, don't you think most of us, by the way, if the price changes by 2%, 3%, 5% for a luxurious product, a lot of us will simply say it is a luxury, I don't need it, so we will reduce the consumption of it. Let me know. Right? If the price of a luxurious product goes up by 2%, 3%, 4%, lot of us will simply say, right, it's not worth it. Why? What is the point? It's not a necessity for me. I can sustain, I can remain alive even if I don't eat a luxurious product. If I don't consume luxurious product, nothing will happen. So what will happen? Demand will drop. Demand will fall by a larger percent whenever it is a luxurious product. For example, if the price will change by 2%, demand might simply fall by, let's say, 8% or 9%. So now apply the same logic, apply the numbers, substitute the numbers. Can I say if price elasticity of a demand is greater than 1? I repeat, if PED is greater than 1, can I directly come to a conclusion it is a luxurious product? Can I go forward? Can I directly make a conclusion it is a luxurious product? Right? So PED can be less than 1, PED can be greater than 1. In fact, in microeconomics at optional level, PED can be infinity also, PED can be 0 also. There are different combinations. But for GS paper 3, just stick to PED greater than 1, PED less than 1. Okay. Now, whenever PED is equal to 1, PED is equal to 1, that is, let's say 5% change in the price, 5% change in the demand, 6% change in the price, 6% change in the demand. Whenever PED is equal to 1, we'll simply call this as unitary elastic. right? It will simply refer to this as unitary elastic. Generally, you do not find a product which is having always a unitary elastic demand. Sometimes some products might behave this way. You do not generally have an example of this. Okay, so PD less than 1, PD greater than 1, or PD is equal to 1. This is price elasticity of a demand. Can we go forward now? First one is PED. Second one is IED, income elasticity of a demand. IED, income elasticity of a demand. What is this income elasticity of a demand? Whenever there is a change in income, percentage change in the income, as a result of this, how much will be the change in the demand for a product? Is it okay? I'll repeat the definition. If there is a percentage change in the income, as a result of this, how much will be the percentage change in the demand? That is called as income elasticity of a demand. Formula is again in the numerator, percentage change in the demand divided by percentage change in the income. Now, what is the meaning of it? How do we understand whatever the outcome is? How do we understand it? Now, just to make it simple, because some of you will suddenly get confused with calculations, I'll give you one calculation. Let me start. Imagine there is a person X, not company X, person X. Income of the person goes up from 100 rupees to, let's say, 200 rupees. Okay, from 100 rupees to 200 rupees. And whenever the income will change, automatically what will happen? Demand for product one, let's say hypothetically, will increase from 10 units to 12 units, and demand for product 2, right, will fall down from, let's say, 8 units to 6 units. Because don't you think it will happen? Demand for some of the goods will increase, and demand for some of the goods will start decreasing. That is generally what happens whenever your income will change. Now let's start. Please understand this very carefully. Can I say increase in your income is 100%? Increase in your income is 100%. And based on this only you can understand this is a normal good. Correct? Based on the example itself, we can understand this is a normal good, this is an inferior good. But when you look at the number, how do you understand? I'm trying to convey you people of that. I want you to understand that. If you look at IED number, how do you understand? Although it's very simple, once you understand it, it becomes very simple. Let's start. So what is the formula? Percentage change in the demand divided by percentage change in the income. So in the first case, in the first example, what will happen? Percentage change in the demand is plus 20% and percentage change in the income is plus 100%. Right? Can I write it directly 0.2 here? Plus 0.2 or 0.2, doesn't matter. Can I write it? Come to the second side, second example. The numerator, right, demand has fallen down by 2 units. Demand has fallen down by 2 units, which is nothing but minus 25%. And your income has increased by 100%. Denominator will be plus 100%. So 25 ones are, or directly you can write it. It will be minus 0.25. Minus 0.25. Any difficulty in the calculation? Let me see. Those who are sleeping, please wake up and let me know. Any difficulty in the calculation? In case of first good, demand has increased. In case of second good, demand has decreased. Because demand has decreased, right, I've taken a minus symbol. Because the demand has increased, I've taken plus symbol. Now look at this and tell me, is it okay if I say, if your income elasticity of a demand, IED, is positive, that is a normal good? Please participate. Can I say, if your IED is positive, if IED is positive, that's a normal good. And if your IED is negative, that is an inferior good. Anybody has a problem? For some of you, right, again, I'll explain it. But for some of you, your CSAT is your weakness. I can get to know, because based on the question, I can understand CSAT is weakness. Some of you are saying why it is minus 25%. My dear, if the demand will fall down, if the demand will fall down from 8 units to 6 units, please use calculator now. reduction of 2 units. Demand has fallen down by 2 units divided by base of 8 units. It will be minus 25. Fallen down, reduction. And some of you are saying, how it can be plus 20%? If the demand has increased from 10 units to 12 units, 2 units divided by 10, calculate, you will get 20%. Right? You will get 20%. It's a very, very simple idea. And very interestingly, some of you are asking, why is the demand falling down in example 2? My dear, please go back to the basics. Did we not discuss this earlier? When your income will increase, you'll consume more of certain goods and less of certain goods. You tell me, did we not discuss this? Right? When your income will increase, you'll consume more of a certain good and less of another good. I'm taking one example where you will consume more and another example where you will consume less. Now, finally, one more concept. Instead of saying that, IED is positive, instead of saying that IED is positive, can I say IED is greater than 0? Let me see. Instead of saying IED is positive, right? Can I say IED is greater than 0? Correct? That is, again, some of you are asking, how come IED is greater than 0? Right? Very interesting questions. Early morning, very interesting questions. Go back to your high school. I'll drag you back to your high school. Do you remember number line? Do you remember number line? And in number line, anything right of a 0, number will be plus 1, plus 2, plus 3, plus 4. And right, when you go left of the line, you will have minus 1, minus 2, minus 3, minus 4. Now you tell me, anything greater than 0, will all the numbers be positive or not? Very simple question. Anything greater than 0, does it not mean all the numbers are positive? And two of you are asking, sir, how can you take it as a 10 to 12? Can I take it as 10 to 13? Take it. Take it and calculate. Can we take it as a 10 to 14 instead of 12? Take it and calculate. How much number you take is not important. Why? Please tell me. Whether it is 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 16, doesn't matter. Will you not get a positive number finally? Correct or not? Right? Whether you take it as an increase from 10 to 11, will it be a positive outcome? Yes. If you take it from 10 to 12, will the outcome be positive? Yes. If you take it from 10 to 14, will the outcome be positive? Of course, yes. So what number you take doesn't matter. All the calculations that I'm showing is just to make you understand. I'm taking example here. You can take 50 also. What is the outcome? IED will be positive. So whenever IED is positive or greater than 0, simply say these are normal goods. Any difficulty now? Whenever IED is positive or greater than 0, simply say these are normal goods. And whenever IED is negative, whether it is minus 2, minus 5, minus 30, doesn't matter. Minus is important, right? It is an inferior good. It is an inferior good. So normal goods, IED is positive. Inferior goods, IED is negative. And this is not very difficult. It's not very difficult. Why? Please tell me. In case of normal goods, what was the relation between income and demand? You think of it and do let me know. In case of normal goods, what was the relation between income and demand? Was it a positive relation or a negative relation? Normal goods. Arey Baba. And you people are not even remembering what we have discussed 1 hour ago. In case of normal goods, was it a positive relation or negative relation? It was a positive. Correct or not? Right? It was a positive. If income goes up, demand will go up. If both of them are going up, don't you think outcome should be positive always? Does it make sense or not? Let me know. Does it make any sense to you? And what about inferior goods? The relation between income and demand was negative. If income goes up, demand will go down. If income goes down, demand will go up. which means the outcome has to be negative. That is exactly less than 0 and greater than 0. Is it okay? Right now, some of you are getting confused with all of this. The only reason is you're not listening very carefully. Once the class is over, revise it. Revise it, right? Automatically, you will understand, right, what is the idea. Okay. Okay. Let me go to the third one. Cross elasticity of a demand. Cross elasticity of a demand. Okay. What is this cross elasticity of a demand? If there is a change in price of one good, again we are talking about related goods. In the context of cross elasticity, we are talking about related goods. That is important. Please remember, related goods. So in case of cross elasticity of a demand, whenever price of one good changes, the demand for another good should change. Do you remember this? Either it is a complementary good or a substitute good. Price of one good changes, a demand for another good should change. For example, I'll write it. I'll take one example, one set of example: printer and ink. Printer and ink. Another example: tea or coffee. Now let's start. Tea or coffee. Now let me ask you a very simple question. If the price of the printer goes up, what do you think will happen to demand for ink? Price of printer goes up, what do you think will happen to demand for ink? Can I say quantity demanded will automatically go down? Correct? Quantity demanded will go down. Now, based on this only, can I say both are negatively related? Both are negatively related. And if you use the formula cross elasticity of a demand, formula is very simple. Percentage change in demand for good X divided by percentage change in the price of good Y, because we're talking about related goods, related two different goods, X and Y. Now you tell me, right? Use your CSAT knowledge and you please tell me, if both of these are related, that is a printer as well as ink, price and demand are negatively related, can I directly say CED will be negative? Just think of it. Can I say directly CED will be negative? Anybody has a problem? Please do let me know. Less than 0, negative, whatever you want to say. It will be less than 0 or negative. And on the other side, if the price of tea goes up, demand for coffee also goes up. If the price of the tea goes up, demand for coffee also goes up, which means both are positively related. That is, price and demand for tea and coffee are positively related. Can I directly say CED here will be greater than 0 and here will be CED less than 0? Anybody has a problem, please do let me know. In one case, that is in this example, printer and ink, CED will be less than 0, and in case of tea and coffee, the CED will be greater than 0. Anybody has a problem? It's a basic idea, and again, I don't want to take the names of the students, but my sincere advice to you, sincere advice, focus on your CSAT. Please focus on your CSAT. Your CSAT is very, very weak. Very, very weak. Why? Again, the questions are, how come it will become negative? How come it will become positive? Right? No. It's very difficult, etc. Let's start. All of this is not needed for UPC GS paper 3, but anyways, let's start. Here is printer. Here is printer. Here is ink. Let's start. Price of the printer, let's say, will go up by 20%. Price of the printer will increase by 20%. You only told me the demand for ink should go down. And interestingly, some of the students are asking, how come? How come demand for ink will go down? My dear, if the printer prices will go up, quantity of printers demanded in the market should go down. Do you think printer is a necessary good? Without printer, you cannot remain alive. Not necessary. Right? So I hope you understand. Demand for printer should go down. And if a printer demand will go down, what will happen to the demand for ink? Because if you purchase a printer, you will demand ink. So demand for printer will go down And as a result of this, demand for ink will also go down. Let's say by, right, go down means minus, let's say 15%. It will go down, let's say by 15%. Now use the formula, right? A CD, cross elasticity of demand. Reduction in the demand will be minus 15%, and increase in the price is plus 20%. Can I say minus 0.75? Even now, is anybody facing a difficulty here? All of this calculation absolutely useless for GS paper 3. Not at all needed for GS paper 3. So now please tell me, based on this data, can I simply say, whenever you have a CED negative, that is less than 0, directly can I say these are complementary goods? Yes or no? Directly can I say, if the CED is less than 0 means negative. These are complementary goods. And if it is positive, I'll simply call them as substitute goods. Right? So CED less than 0, greater than 0, IED less than 0, greater than 0, right? PED less than 1, greater than 1. Right? These are the different types of elasticities from the demand side. And some of you are asking for break. Let me finish this, then we'll take break. Let me finish this. Price elasticity of supply. Finally, price elasticity of supply. Okay, one more point. Some of you are asking this, sir, what if CD is equal to 0? Whenever CD is equal to 0, both are unrelated goods. I'll give you an example also. Whenever CD is equal to 0, both are unrelated goods. Unrelated, right? For example, let's say in the newspaper you read. Let's say in the newspaper you read, price of tea has gone up. You're reading newspaper, in one of the article you will come across this. Price of tea has gone up. And in another article, you will read that demand for shoe polish. Demand for shoe polish also has gone up. Now you are very inquisitive. You want to read economics, understand economics completely. Now you will start applying cross elasticity of a demand. You will say price of tea has gone up, which means denominator is a positive number. I hope you understand. Denominator is a positive number. Demand for shoe polish also has gone up. You're very interested now. Numerator is also a positive number. And now you'll simply say positive divided by positive, the cross elasticity of a demand is greater than 0. You are confirmed now. Both tea as well as a shoe polish are substitute goods. Is it true? Both tea and shoe polish are substitute goods. Is it correct? Absolutely no. Why? Instead of having tea, will you drink shoe polish? Think of it, right? Instead of having tea, you will have a right shoe polish. You will mix shoe polish, right? Basically in water. You'll put some sugar and you will basically filter it and drink. Absolutely no. You will not do it. Why? These are unrelated. These are unrelated goods. So whenever these are unrelated goods, there is no concept of CED. Simply write 0. Simply write 0. Okay, done. Can we go forward? Now next, fourth type of elasticity, price elasticity of supply. Price elasticity of supply. Now what is this price elasticity of supply? It measures whenever a percentage change will happen in the price of the good, how much percentage change will happen in supply. PES measures change in the price of the good, and as a result of this, how much will be the change in percentage supply of the good. That is a price elasticity of supply. Formula is again just with a minute change. In the numerator, instead of demand, you will write supply. Percentage change in the supply divided by percentage change in the price of the good. That's a formula. And whenever price elasticity of supply is greater than 1, we will simply say the supply is elastic. I'll repeat it. Whenever price elasticity of a supply is greater than 1, we'll call the supply elastic. And whenever the price elasticity of a supply is less than 1, we'll say supply is inelastic. Right? Greater than 1 as well as less than 1. Supply either is elastic or inelastic. Now, what should be the information that you derive out of all of this? Sir, we will by heart it or we will understand it, but why do we use it? What is the utility of all of this? Now, you please tell me. Please think of it and tell me. Imagine a product has an inelastic supply. I'll repeat the statement. Suddenly, UPC can ask you these kind of questions. Please think of it. Imagine the product has inelastic supply, but the demand for the product is rising very fast. What do you think will happen to the prices of such a product? Think of it. I'll repeat the statement. Imagine, right? Imagine a product is there. The product has inelastic supply. Rather than saying inelastic supply, what UPC will do? Imagine a product is there whose price elasticity of a supply is less than 1. Whose price elasticity of supply is less than 1, and there is a sudden surge in the demand for a product. As a result of this, what will happen to the price of the commodity? All of you will agree? If a PES is a less than 1 and there is a sudden rise in the demand, prices will also rise very rapidly. Prices will also increase very fast. All of you will agree with me. Anybody has a problem, please do let me know. Now, do let me know if one of the statements says, or there is a question like this. The government of India wants to reduce the issue of price rise in the market. Which of the following measures can be taken by the government? I'll repeat the statement. Listen carefully first. The government of India is concerned about the price rise. Which of the following measures are likely to be taken to reduce the price rise in the market? If one of the statement is the government will make the supply inelastic, second statement is government will make the supply elastic. Is it okay if I say only second statement is correct, first statement is wrong? Let me know. Is it okay if I say only the second statement is correct, first statement is wrong? Government should make the supply more elastic if they want to ensure price rises are controlled. Government should not make the supply inelastic. Government should make the supply elastic. Anybody has a problem with this? Anybody has a problem with this? Please do let me know. Otherwise, I'll go forward now. Anybody has an issue? Please explain PES again. Price elasticity of a supply measures whenever there is a percentage change in the price of the product, then how much is a percentage change in the supply of the product? If 1% of the price rises, if for a product the price rises by 1%, your supply will rise by how much percentage? Right? That is measured. That measurement is price elasticity of supply. That is, let's say hypothetically, if price will rise by 1%, okay, price will increase by 1%, your supply will change by 4%. Don't you think your reaction to the price rise, that is as a result of price rise, you are supplying more in the market? And tell me, how can you supply more in the market? Because the supply, you can get easily access to raw materials, you can get easy access to labor, capital access is there for you. Only because of that, you are able to expand the production, supply more to the market. That is called as elastic supply. Otherwise, inelastic supply. Okay, done. Income elasticity. Some students will keep on asking everything. So discuss income elasticity, discuss price elasticity, discuss the cross elasticity. If I'm going to discuss everything, then I don't think so I'll be able to complete syllabus even if I take 1 year. Listen carefully. Please listen carefully. If, right, income elasticity of a demand measures if there is a change in the income, as a result of the change in the income, how much will be the change in the demand. There are two sets of goods. There are two sets of goods. One is again based on income, the normal goods as well as inferior goods. In normal goods, when your income goes up, demand also goes up. If your income goes down, demand also goes down. I'm explaining this for a very simple reason. There were two students who asked me, sir, everywhere you're taking, right? For example, in this case, right, income elasticity of demand. You took income goes up, you took that income goes up, hence the demand goes up. What if income will go down? My dear, you tell me. Apply CSAT. If income will go down, don't you think in case of normal goods, demand will also go down? Yes or no? If income will go down, in case of normal goods, even the demand will go down. Whatever the percentage you will have a numerator which is a negative percentage and a denominator which will have a negative percentage. Cancel, cancel. Again, the outcome will become positive only. This only happens because your CSAT fundamentals are very weak. This happens only because you are not comfortable with the CSAT. There is a chapter called as percentage. Study that. Percentages. Right? In normal goods, the logic is simple. If income goes up, demand will go up. If income will go down, demand will go down. That's it. So whether the changes are happening, both will be positive or both will be negative. If both are positive, outcome is positive. If both of them are negative, outcome will still be positive. I hope you understand. I hope you understand. And someone is saying, CSAT is not over. My dear, this is high school. This is high school. Have you not come across these calculations in the high school? Where, let's say, minus 20% divided by minus 10%. The outcome, is it negative or positive? Outcome is negative or positive? It will be a positive number. It will be a positive number, high school level. Right? So I hope you understand. I hope you understand. These are all high school numbers. Right? So whether this is going to increase or decrease doesn't matter. If it is a normal good, outcome is positive. If it is a inferior good, outcome is negative. Okay, done. Okay, can normal goods be superior goods? What do you mean by superior goods? Let me know. What do you mean by superior goods? Right? What is your definition of a superior goods? Okay. Why government supplies elastic to control prices? I said, imagine the question is the price levels are increasing. Price levels are increasing. Government wants to reduce the rise in the price levels. There's a term called for this, inflation. We'll discuss that later. That's the reason I'm not using that technical term. Government doesn't want the prices to rise like this. They want to reduce the prices, control the prices. In that case, should the government make supply elastic or inelastic? The answer is the government should ensure supply is elastic. If the supply is elastic, because the price is increasing, supply will increase at a much faster pace. And if the supply increases at a very faster pace, automatically prices will start cooling down. That was the answer. Okay. How it will happen in supply? Will it be independent or change because of demand change, shift of curve? Arey Baba, the logic that you have applied, I believe you're talking about shift of the curve. Whatever logic you've applied to the demand curve, apply the same logic. Let's say hypothetically, if the price of if the price of related goods will change, if the price of related goods will change, let's say, right, substitute goods. Let's say substitute good. You're producing this bottle, I am producing one more bottle. Both are substitutes. So if I reduce my bottle price, automatically your bottle price you're not changing. But don't you think at the same price now, because the demand goes down, you'll be supplying lesser in the market? Think of it, right? Just think of it. At the same price, because the price of the substitute good has gone down, right? Automatically demand for your product will go down. And as a result of this, your supply will go down at the same price. And in that case, the supply curve will shift to the left like this. Right? Apply logic, you'll understand it. Okay, done. So let me take a break now. We will restart the discussion. Next is right a bigger concept. Next, we will discuss savings, investment, and capital formation. But we will start the discussion at 8:05. Take a break. We'll start the discussion at 8:05.
Okay, welcome back. Am I audible? Can we start? Okay, done. Let's start. So, next concept I want to discuss is the idea of savings, investment, and capital formation. Okay, let's go point by point. Point number one. Imagine there is person X, okay, and the person X has earned an income. Has earned an income. I'll take a simple number. Let's say 100 rupees. And the income of the person is 100 rupees. Right? Many of you will ask me, sir, why 100? Can I take it at 1000, 10,000, 1 lakh? Whatever number you want to take it, take it. Number is not important, concept is important. Now, out of 100 rupees, some of the amount will be collected by the government in the form of taxes. For example, income taxes. All of you heard of it? Income taxes. So some amount will be collected by the government in the form of income taxes. Let's say this amount will be 10 rupees. Now, after paying income tax, whatever is left out, I'll repeat, after paying the income tax, whatever is left out, I will call this as disposable income. I'll refer to this as disposable income. What do you mean by disposable income? The amount of money that is there in the hands of the people using which they can purchase goods and services. Is it okay? The amount of money, how much money is there in the hands using which they can purchase goods and services. Now, please tell me, if you are having this disposable income of 90 rupees, will you spend all the 90 rupees to purchase goods and services? Obviously, no. What you will do is, out of this 90 rupees, some of the money you will spend. I'll take a simple number so that you understand. Let's say 40 rupees. I will call this as expenditure. I will refer to this as expenditure. And now can I simply say remaining 50 rupees is the savings? Now tell me, can I simply say remaining 50 rupees is the savings? All of you okay? So now you will ask me, sir, what do you mean by savings? Savings is that amount of money out of disposable income that is not used in the form of expenditure. I'll repeat the statement. Savings is that part of the disposable income which is not used for expenditure purposes. Okay, that is point number one. Point number two, now whenever you have savings, in this example, you had 50 rupees savings. Either you can keep it in the form of cash with yourself. You'll not keep it anywhere. You will keep it in the form of cash with yourself. Or else, I'll take one more example that's more important. Listen now carefully. You will take this 50 rupees, deposit this 50 rupees in the bank. Possible? Deposit this 50 rupees in the bank. Now, when you keep this 50 rupees in the bank will take this 50 rupees and issue it in the form of a loan. They might give a loan to a home buyer. They might give a loan to, let's say, a car buyer. They might give loan to, let's say, a manufacturer. Now, let's say this 50 rupee loan is given to a company, a manufacturer. Now, when the manufacturer will take the loan, they will take this money and purchase, let's say, machine or purchase raw materials or pay salary for the employees, etc. And as a result of this, can I say production will happen? Production will happen, and this will lead to higher supply in the market. Production will happen, and as a result of this, supply will increase in the market. So far, so good. Anybody has a problem with the cycle here? Now, once the production is taking place, it also means people are earning salaries. People are earning incomes. And when people are earning salaries or incomes, automatically the demand for goods and services will be there in the market. And this cycle will continue because the demand is there, production will happen. And when production will happen, people are earning more salaries, they will have a demand in the market. Again, production will happen, the cycle will continue. So all of you okay with this idea? That is, in simple terms, savings of the people, savings of you, me, etc., savings can be used to promote production in the economy. Savings can be channelized. Channelized means used in order to increase production, increase employment, increase demand in the market. And this process is important. This process is relevant for every economy, especially for Indian economy. Why? Now, please tell me how many economic agents are there in India? Do you remember this? There are economic agents such as households. There are economic agents such as households. There are economic agents, government along with their institutions such as RBI, etc., etc. There are also companies. There are also companies. Now, please understand this. Companies or firms. They will use the term either companies or firms. Now, this concept is important. Why? Government is there. In India, the government earns money, right? How? Government will sell companies, government will collect taxes, etc. Government will earn money. But in case of India, the government's earnings, the income of the government, rather than earnings, I'll write income of the government, it is smaller than expenditure of the government. Any problem with this statement? The income of the government is smaller compared to expenditure of the government. Now, please tell me, if you look at this data, can you tell me that government is saving money? Think of it. Government is saving money? No, government is not saving money. Government is a dissaving. Dissaving means its expenditure is so high, its income is not sufficient. They will borrow more money from the market. So government is not having savings. Who has most of the savings in India? It is us. It is your household, my household. It is us. Majority of the savings in India will come from the households. A small portion of the savings generally come from the companies or firms. Right? Second point is okay with all of you? Government is not saving. It is dissaving. Its expenditure is more than the income. It is the households which makes lot of the savings. And firms also make a small portion of the savings. And these savings are channelized in the economy to promote production, to promote growth in the economy, to promote employment. But for all of this to happen, right, we need households, or let's say economic agents, to save. All of you okay with this? We need economic agents to save. Second, we need somebody to collect these savings and invest in the economy. All of you okay? Second point, we need somebody such as bank. A bank will collect savings from us, give loans in the market. So we require these kind of institutions. And the third one is, even the borrowers such as companies should be willing to take loans. If any one of them is not functioning properly, the whole system, that is production, right, let's say demand, or let's say even the growth, all of this would be affected. For example, imagine I'm supposed to have savings, but what if I don't save money? Think of it. What if I don't save money? If I don't save money, don't you think the first point itself will become very difficult? Right? I will not be able to deposit money in the bank. Bank will not have sufficient money to give loans. That will be disrupted. I have savings. Banks are not working properly. Banks are getting closed. Now, I have savings, but I'll not keep it in the bank because I'm concerned that the bank might close down tomorrow. That is also a problem. I have savings. Banks are working, but companies are incurring losses. They do not want to take loans now because they are already incurring huge amount of losses and they are about to shut down. That will also hamper the overall production in the economy. So I hope you understand. The three stakeholders are there, three economic agents are there, right? Out of these three agents, households are the most important in terms of savings of the money. But all the savings doesn't necessarily mean, I repeat, all the savings doesn't necessarily mean it will lead to investment in the market. It will lead to this kind of a cycle in the market. Why so? I'll give you an example. Please think of it. Out of 50 rupees, can I say 30 rupees I'll keep it in the form of cash with myself? Is it possible? Out of 50 savings, I'll keep 30 rupees with cash with myself. That is called as physical savings. Physical savings, right? I will not keep it in a bank. I will not use it in the market. I'll keep it with myself only. 30 rupees and 20 rupees I'll deposit in a bank. So all the savings may not get channelized, may not lead to investment in the market. That is also one more very important. Please remember that point. Now, let's look at the definition. Out of the total earnings made, economy uses part of it for immediate consumption and rest is used for future consumption, savings. And many of you ask me, sir, what is this meaning of future consumption? Now, please tell me how many of your parents have not advised you like this? Whatever income you have, save some amount of money so that you can buy a car in the future. Correct? Whatever income you have, save some of it in the form of money, right? Some of the savings so that you can purchase a home in the future, right? So what is the idea? Save today out of your income, save today so that you can consume in the future. You're postponing the consumption to the future. That is called as savings. Now, out of savings, I can invest in real estate, that is land. Land is also physical savings. Land is not going to lead to financial savings. Land is also physical savings. I can right, simply not invest anywhere. But out of 50 rupees, what if I invest 30 rupees in right, let's say a bank deposit? So out of total savings, some of the savings which will enter into a financial system like this, it is called as financial savings. Financial savings. So investment is that part of the income that will be used for acquiring capital goods. Now many of you ask me, sir, what is the meaning of it? What is this meaning? Let me explain it. I'll take the same example. Savings of 50 rupees. Out of 50 rupees, let's say, I will take 20 rupees and I will invest in, right, let's say land. Land is a physical savings, not a financial saving. Now, let's say remaining 30 rupees. I'll put it in a bank. Now, the bank will give this 30 rupees as a loan to a manufacturer. Now, can I say this 30 rupees a loan will be used by the manufacturer to purchase a machine? Correct? To purchase a machine, to set up a manufacturing facility, to purchase raw materials, etc. So now is it okay if I say this 30 rupee financial savings is becoming, or it is being used for purchasing goods in the market, that is capital goods? Anybody has a problem with this? Please do let me know. Anybody has a problem with this? Capital, do you remember what is the meaning of the term capital? Anything that is produced by humans is called as a capital. So you are a producer, you will use this 30 rupees to purchase a capital good, that is a machine, right? Or let's say intermediary good, etc. So that is basically the investment. Can we go forward? That is basically nothing but investment, right? So understand this. Investment is that part of the income which is used for purchasing capital goods in the market. Investment in an economy is done either by internal sources, that is, let's say, households, savings of the households can become investment. But please understand, apart from investments coming from India, can the investment come from a foreign market? That is, I'll give a very simple example. Many foreign companies will bring money in India and invest in India. Right? The technical name for that is foreign direct investment. We'll discuss that separately. This is a technical name, foreign direct investment. Let's say a foreign company, and many of you will start asking examples to me. Have you heard of the company AirAsia? It's a foreign direct investment. Have you heard of Foxconn, Apple company? This should be very easy for you. Samsung company, right? That is a foreign direct investment. So foreign companies will bring money and invest in India. So investments can be from a domestic source as well as from the external sources as well. So investment can come from both the sources, domestic as well as external. That is investment. And finally, there is one more term, capital formation. right? There is a concept of gross capital formation, GCF. What is the idea for GCF? I'll take a simple example here. Let me know, and based on this, I'll ask you a question now. Listen carefully. Imagine you own a company. You have a company. Okay. Now, in this company, have a look at this. This year, that is, let's say 2023. This year, 2023, you have two machines. Machines are capital goods, correct? Machines are capital goods. You have two machines. But in the next 1 year, 2024, the number of machines will increase from two machines to three machines, which means in a span of 1 year, you have purchased one more machine, increased the capital goods that you have. So now, based on this, can I simply say from 1 year to next year, there is addition to the existing capital that you have. I'll repeat the statement. This year you had two machines. Next year you will purchase one more machine. Now you will have three machines, which means from 1 year to next year, there is an addition to the capital in the economy. Like you, somebody else will also be doing the same thing. Some other manufacturer might purchase three machines, four machines from 1 year to next year. So this process of adding capital to the existing capital, I'll repeat, the process of adding capital to the existing capital, it is called as capital formation. All of you okay with this? From 1 year to next year, to the existing capital will keep on adding more and more capital, and that process is called as capital formation. Right now, what is the formula to calculate capital formation? How much is the total investment done by us in purchasing capital goods? Of course, have a look at this. How much is the total investment done in acquiring capital goods divided by the GDP? Now you have come across one more terminology, GDP. I'll come to that. GDP into 100. Now, what is a GDP? GDP simply means, I'll come back to this, please don't panic. GDP simply means gross domestic product. In fact, this is the next chapter. We'll start it today. GDP simply means gross domestic product. What do you mean by gross domestic product? In one country, in a territory, economic territory, what is the market price of all the final goods and services which are produced? That is called as GDP. Is it okay? Anybody has a problem with the definition? Please do let me know right now. What is GDP? Gross domestic product in a particular economic territory, such as India, such as one state within India, or China, Brazil, USA, Japan. These are economic territories. So within one territory, what is the market price of all the final goods and services which are produced? That is called as GDP. So I hope all of you have understood. All of you understood the definition of GDP, right? If you want an example, some of you are asking example. Let's say in India, there are 200 final goods and services produced. 200 final goods and services produced, and the market price of each of these goods, let's say, is 10 rupees. That is a market price. Now, can I simply say GDP of India is 2000 rupees? Anybody has a problem? How much is the market price into the final goods and services? That will give you GDP, gross domestic product. So how do you calculate rate of capital formation? How do you understand how capital formation is changing? You will take investment, you will divide this by GDP, and you will multiply this by 100. Now I'll give you a statement. Let me know whether this is correct or not. Higher the rate of capital formation, it is good for Indian economy. I'll repeat the statement. Higher is the rate of capital formation, it is good for Indian economy, which means higher rate of capital formation means what? We are investing more and more money in the Indian economy. Either it could be from the foreign source or Indian source, doesn't matter. We're investing a lot of money. Don't you think investing more money is always good for a country? Because higher investment means production will increase. If production increases, employment will also increase. If employment and production is increasing, right, the society is getting the benefit, GDP is increasing, right, it is good for Indian economy only. Higher should be, right, the rate of capital formation should always be higher. Please remember that. But because of various issues, I'll give a very simple example. Please tell me, if pandemic will affect India, right, let's say pandemic, all of you remember COVID, don't you think a pandemic like situation will always have a negative impact on capital formation in a country? Let me know. A situation such as a pandemic will have a negative impact that will reduce the right basic capital formation rate. Or what if foreign investors right are running away from India? Whatever the reason is, don't worry. If foreign investors are concerned about Indian economy, they will not want to invest in India. That will also have an impact on capital formation. So there are various factors which will have an impact. Over a period of time, you'll understand more and more on this. Right? If the banking sector is not working properly, if companies are incurring losses, all of these will have a negative impact on capital formation. Now, apart from this, right, a couple of more concepts. I'll come back to this. Don't worry. The gross capital formation, the total capital formation is called as a gross capital formation. And those will start asking me, sir, what is a long form? Long form is there on the right side of the table. Please have a look at it. Okay, so gross capital formation is generally divided into two parts. GCF, gross capital, gross means again total capital formation is divided into two parts. One is GFCF, gross fixed capital formation, and right, the second variable is stock. Second variable is stock, or second part of the GCF is stock. Now let me start with the first one, gross fixed capital formation. What is the meaning of gross fixed capital formation? Please remember this. The gross fixed capital formation is that part of investment which is going into the assets which are generally created for longer duration. I'll repeat the statement. Please understand this very carefully, right? Because some of the books have given wrong information related to this. That is, some of the books gross fixed capital formation simply means investment in capital formation. Sorry, investment in fixed assets. Fixed asset, right? For example, they'll say, right, let's say a manufacturing facility. Because the manufacturing facility is fixed, you cannot move manufacturing facility. They'll say it is gross fixed capital formation. No, that is not the right approach. That is not the right definition. What do you mean by gross fixed capital formation? It is those assets wherein the investment is done for a longer duration. Right? The assets are for a longer duration. For example, you please tell me, you will purchase a machine. You're a manufacturer. You'll purchase a machine. Will you throw away the machine after 1 year? Think of it and do let me know. Will you throw away the machine after 1 year, after 6 months, after 3 months, and purchase a new one? No, you will not do that. If you say yes, my dear, don't enter into business. Do not enter into business. Generally, these are invested. You will invest money and purchase a machine for a manufacturing company for 5 years, 10 years, 15 years. That is what you will do. You will not dispose of, that is, you will not spend money on day-to-day basis, on weekly basis on the machine. No, you will not do that. What about a manufacturing facility? What about manufacturing facility? You please tell me, what about manufacturing facility? Right? Will you keep on, right, setting up a manufacturing facility? You will destroy it. One more after 1 month, after 2 months, after 3 months. No, you will set up a manufacturing facility. You will use it for 10 years, 15 years, 30 years, 40 years. Maybe then you will dispose it off. So I hope you understand, whenever you talk about gross fixed capital formation, it is an investment in an asset. The asset is used for a very longer duration. That is gross fixed capital formation. On the other side, you tell me, I'll take one more example. You will purchase raw materials. You will purchase intermediary goods. Don't you think the expenditure on intermediary goods is a day-to-day expenditure for you? Yes or no? You'll purchase inventory, you'll purchase intermediary goods. Is it not an expenditure on day-to-day basis? But what is the use of intermediary goods? You will purchase intermediary goods, you'll produce the final good, sell it, earn money. That is also investment for you. Because ultimately you are investing in both machine also, in raw material also. But the difference is, in one case, investment is into an asset which is used for a very longer duration, which is there with you for a very longer duration. But in the second example, investment is into something which is done on day-to-day basis, very periodical, very frequent basis. That is a stock. Anybody has an issue with this, please do let me know. For example, you will purchase a machine, use it for 10 years. You will purchase raw material, manufacture and sell it within 1 week. Again, you will spend money on intermediary goods. So that is a gross fixed capital formation as well as a stock. So if you get the sum total of it, you will get gross capital formation, GCF. Okay. Again, sir, stock is very confusing. I'll repeat it again. Please understand. Capital formation is nothing but investment. That point is clear with you. It is an investment. Now, as a company, you will invest on a machine. You will invest on a machine, but you will use the machine for 15 years. On the other side, as a company, you will invest and purchase raw material. You will purchase intermediary goods. Correct? You will invest and purchase intermediary goods. But don't you think you will keep on spending money on raw materials or intermediary goods very frequently, on day-to-day basis, on weekly basis, or even for that monthly basis? But on the other side, machine, you purchase a machine, you will spend again after 15 years to replace this machine. So on one side, very periodical investment. On the other side, very frequent, very frequent investment. That is a stock as well as a gross fixed capital formation. Okay, done. Right. So this is basically the idea of a savings, investment, and capital formation. What is the importance of capital formation? Why should we have higher capital formation? First one, it will lead to increase in the production in the economy. Anybody has a problem with the first point? It will lead to increased production in the economy. It will contribute to GDP. It will contribute to a lot of GDP. It is associated with labor efficiency. You will purchase a new type of a machine, new technology. Productivity of the labor increases. Efficiency of a utilization of resources will increase. Always the capital formation is associated with that. Right? Technological progress, better utilization of resources that we have, and it is always associated with rising demand, higher production, higher supply, higher demand for goods and services. This is the reason why we should always have a higher rate of capital formation. All of you okay with this? All of you okay with this? Let me know. Can we go forward? Because this is basically the end of the chapter. This is basically the end of the chapter. Next, I'll discuss questions. Right? What kind of questions have appeared in the UPSC earlier? Right? I'll discuss those. Can we call a stock as working capital? My dear, working capital refers to money. I hope you understand. Working capital refers to money that you are going to spend on day-to-day basis. Stocks represent what you are purchasing with that money. Okay. Raw materials are capital goods, and not necessarily. Generally, raw materials are considered as investments. These are part of investments. Okay. Since money is spent regularly on stock, does it not make revenue? You spend money on stock, purchase it, convert that into a final good or another good, sell it in the market, you generate revenue. That is how it is done. Investment in fixed assets for longer duration should have returns. Example, house, gold, where one time investment but no returns. Where, my dear, you imagine returns means money should come to you. But let me tell you, if you purchase a house, is it not saving rental income for you? Let me know. Is it not saving rental income for you? Think of it. Please think of it. You always think returns, you always think in terms of money. No, utility. Utility. You have your own house. The kind of the satisfaction that you will have, the savings that you will have in the form of rental income, all of those are returns for you. Okay, let me go to the next one. Since money is spent regularly on stock, does it not make it revenue expenditure than capital? Arey Baba, capital expenditure. Again, there are two things that you need to understand. I'm not talking about capital expenditure and revenue expenditure in the budget. When we take up revenue expenditure and capital expenditure in the budget, that's a different issue. We'll discuss that later. Okay. Okay. Let me go forward. Let me go forward. Let's start solving the questions now. Okay, 50% have answered correctly. Why? Let's start. Consider the following statements. Other things remaining unchanged, market demand for a good might increase if, let's start. Price of its substitute increases. Tea and coffee. I think tea and coffee. If tea's price will increase, what will happen to demand for coffee? It will increase. So obviously, yes. Price of its complement increases. Right? Printer and ink. That's the reason I've taken example so that you understand. Printer and ink. If price of the printer goes up, demand for ink will go down. So second one is wrong. The good is an inferior good and income of the consumer increases. Good is an inferior good and income of the consumer increases. Do you remember the income and demand relation between inferior goods? The relation between income and demand for inferior goods, it is negative. Remember that it is negative. And right, the income of the consumer increases and it is an inferior good. The demand will come down, not increase. So third one is also wrong. And finally, the price of the product itself will fall. So automatically the demand will increase. So 1 and 4 are correct. Right option will be option A. Again, please understand, to make the question difficult, what UPSC can do is it can give you options like this. Only one is correct. Only two are correct. Only three are correct. All four are correct. Now, whether this option is given, this option is given, doesn't matter. Earlier with this option, elimination was easier. But last year, UPSC has basically eliminated these options. I hope you understand. Last year, if you check the UPSC papers, when I say last year, I'm talking about the UPSC prelims 2023. UPSC has eliminated this kind of question and they have introduced these kind of questions now. Where this is not difficult, this is difficult. Why? Now your conceptual clarity is important. Conceptually, if you are very strong, very clear, even with these options, it will be easier for you, right? Because your concepts or fundamentals are very strong. So right option will be option B. Only two of the statements are correct. Okay. Let me go to the next one. 63%. Okay. Which of the following can add to the aggregate demand? Lowering of income tax rates. Please tell me. Lowering of income tax rates. If income tax rates will come down, will the demand increase or not? In fact, if you remember, some time ago we discussed this. Income minus the tax is equal to disposable income. Correct? Income minus tax is equal to disposable income. If government will reduce the income tax, disposable income will increase. Higher disposable income is associated with higher demand. All of you okay with this? So first statement is correct. Increase in the cost of raw materials. If the raw material cost increases, tell me, if you're a manufacturer, what will happen to market price of the bottle? If the raw material cost increases, what will happen to the manufacturing, or let's say market price of the bottle? It will go up, price will increase. And if the price will increase, do you think demand will also increase? No, demand will actually come down. Second statement is wrong. Increase in VAT. We have not discussed VAT. Don't worry. Tax. Increase in tax. Now let's say the market price, right? Until now, the price was like this: 100 rupee plus government had a tax of 10 rupee. Market price was 110. Now government will increase this tax from 10 rupee to 20 rupee, which means 100 plus 20. Now the market price will become 120. So if the market price will increase with increased taxation, demand automatically will come down, not increase. So third statement is also wrong. Right option for the question will be option A, only one is correct. Anybody has a problem with this? Anybody has an issue with this question? Please do let me know. Next one. Okay, very easy question, but interesting answers. 51% of the students have chosen option D. Now, please tell me, first concept that we have discussed today: movement along the curve and a shift of the curve. Correct? The first concept that we started today was movement along the curve and a shift of the curve. And when we were discussing movement along the curve, what were the terminologies, technical terminologies that we used? We use the terms expansion and contraction. Anybody has a problem with this? If you still have a problem, PPT is there already with you. Yesterday's PPT, open it, you'll understand. Expansion and contraction, it is associated only with movement along the curve. Correct? If there is a shift of the curve, we use the term increase or decrease. And whenever there's a movement along the curve, is the price of related goods changing? Is a customer preference, a taste and preference changing? Is any other factor changing except price? Answer is no. Only price is changing. All the other factors remain unchanged. I repeat, in movement along the curve, price changes, and as a result of this, either you will move upwards in the curve or downwards in the curve. All the other factors, income, taste and preference, price of the related goods, all these factors will remain unchanged. Right? So first one is correct. Change in the taste and preference, wrong. Change in the income of the consumer, wrong. Only one is correct. Only one is correct. Right? Any problem with this? Okay, right, 70% have answered correctly. Income effect on demand of inferior goods will be, please tell me, inferior goods. In case of inferior goods, right, income and demand, what is the relation? Inferior goods, income and demand are inversely related. That is, if income goes up, demand will go down. And if income will go down, demand will go up. What is the relation here? Can I say negative relation between income and demand? So the income effect on the demand of inferior goods will be negative. In case of normal goods, it is positive. In inferior goods, it is negative. So right option for this question will be option B, negative relation, negative income effect. Okay. Next, and some of you are asking, are these the questions asked in the previous years? Yes. All the questions that I'm going to discuss in the classroom are from previous years only. Okay. Okay, 57% have answered correctly. Which of the following statement or statements is or are correct regarding public goods? Right? Public goods. Public goods are neither excludable nor rivalrous. Correct? We have discussed all of this. Public goods are neither excludable nor rivalrous. Right? So the right option will be option C. Right? We have discussed this. Even basically, there is a table also, the common goods, right, etc., etc. Please remember all of it. Next, a descriptive question. Right, 3 years ago, I believe 3 years ago, there was a descriptive question that was asked by UPSC from this idea of a capitalism. We have discussed capitalism. So, capitalism has guided the world economy to unprecedented prosperity. Unprecedented prosperity. However, it often encourages a short sightedness and contributes to wide disparities between the rich and the poor. In this light, would it be correct to believe and adopt capitalism for bringing inclusive growth in India? Discuss. Right, 250 word question. Now, understand there is one more term. Right, rest of the question should be very straightforward for you. There is one more term, inclusive growth. Right, what is this idea of an inclusive growth? Inclusive growth simply means the growth which is going to benefit all the sections of the society. I'll give a very simple definition. Later, we'll discuss the technical aspect of inclusive growth. Right, the last chapter that we'll take up in GS paper 3, Indian economy, is inclusive growth only. But right now, simply understand, inclusive growth means the benefit of the growth is going to provide benefit to all the sections of the society. Benefits are going to reach to all the sections of the society. Means what? Think of it. I'll give you one example. If India becomes, let's say hypothetically, if India becomes a $5 trillion economy, as and when it will become, I'll give you two examples. Let me know which is preferable for you. Preferable for you. In one of the example, India becomes a $5 trillion economy. That is, $5 trillion economy means GDP. GDP is equal to 5 trillion. In this example, the number of poor people is very, very high in India. Let's say 25 crore people are poor. Example 2, India will become a $5 trillion economy, and a number of poor people in India is a 2 crore people. Which of the two would you prefer? Example 1 or example 2? Which of the two would you prefer India to be in a position? Don't you think in the second example, some of you saying first example, very good answer, right? In the second example, don't you think the benefit of higher GDP is reaching to larger section of the society, which has enabled them to move out of poverty? Correct? The benefit of a high GDP is reaching to a large section of the society, which is enabling them to come out of poverty. And that is the reason why the poverty number is much lesser in India in the second example. So again, I'll repeat the point here. What is inclusive growth? Again, does it always means reduction in the poverty? Not necessarily. What if the nutrition levels in India increase? For example, I don't know how many of you have read. Yesterday, there was one article which I asked you people to read in Hindu. The article simply said 74% of India's population is not able to get access to a healthy diet. Correct? Now, what if that number will fall down to 20%? What if that number will fall down to 30%? Don't you think with India becoming a larger economy, people's income are also increasing? And because the incomes are increasing, more and more population is able to get access to healthy diet. Does it not mean we are moving towards inclusive growth? Of course, yes. Right? So nutrition security, food security, reduction in infant mortality rates, right? More literacy rates, increased access to sanitation, reduction in farmer suicides. All these are expected to happen with increased GDP numbers. And if that happens, if all of these we are able to achieve, that is called as inclusive growth. Now, whenever you write these descriptive answers, simple 3 points. Try to keep it very simple. How? Have three basic breakups, three parts to the descriptive answer. One is introduction, second one is the main body, third one is the way forward or conclusion. Introduction should not be very long. Please do not have a 200-word introduction. That is very, very lengthy. You will not be able to justify your answer. Main body means after introduction, that is called as a main body. Main body should consist most of the words, right? Most of the words. As much as possible, keep the introduction very, very short. Very, very short. Sir, how do you address these kind of questions? Right? Introduction, I'll define capitalism. What is capitalism? I'll define it. And second, right, second, come to the main body. That is very important for you. Main body. What you should write in main body? Capitalism has guided the world economy to unprecedented prosperity. What are the benefits of following a model of capitalism? For example, in capitalism, do you remember? Private sector is present. Investment from the private sector, because the competition is very high, it will increase. Because the competition is very high, the value addition services, the quality of services we provide to customers is very superior, etc., etc. Then that is merit of capitalism. That is the first part of the main body. But there is one more part. What is the other part? It says, however, it often encourages short-sightedness and contributes to disparities between rich and poor. Now, please tell me, did we not discuss what are the problems with capitalism? That is, it will lead to higher income inequality. It will lead to higher wealth inequality. Certain goods which are harmful will also be produced because the profitability is the central theme, etc., etc. So you have told how capitalism will lead to growth, but now you are saying what is the problem with capitalism, why it will lead to a gap between rich and poor. Now come to the conclusion. Come to the conclusion. In conclusion, you can simply say, because there are so many concerns associated with capitalism, and India being a country with one of the largest populations of poor people, it is not advisable for India to adopt capitalism. Mixed economy is a better model, right? So that is your conclusion. So let me know, did you address all the aspects of the question? Correct? Did you address all the aspects? Why capitalism will promote growth, why capitalism will lead to disparities, and how can you promote inclusive growth, right? So you've addressed all the aspects of the question. This is generally how you write a model answer. Okay, but again, some of the students will simply say, sir, it is very difficult, etc., etc. For that, I would simply say practice, more practice, right? Practice answer writing, Some of the people, they're basically talented, right? Let's say genetics, they're talented, and they can get used to the idea of a model answer writing or descriptive answer writing very quickly. But for some others like me, right, again, not anybody particularly in you, like me, we require practice. We need more and more practice. So only the practice will make you more accustomed to the idea of a model writing. Okay, done. Right, so these are certain things that I wanted to discuss from the first chapter. Let me go to the next chapter. Okay, now let me go to the next chapter. The next chapter that I'll be discussing will be National Income Aggregates. NIA, National Income Aggregates. Now, what is this concept of national income aggregates? There are different types of aggregates. Aggregates means totals, right? Many of you keep on asking me, what do you mean by aggregates? Aggregates means total. There are different types of aggregates which are generally used. For example, if you people are reading the newspaper, correct me if I'm wrong, most of the days when you read the newspaper, this terminology will appear at least once in the newspaper. Correct? Most of the days, this terminology, that is GDP, will appear at least once in the newspaper, at least once. You can check it, right? If you read the newspapers every day, you'll know it. GDP, GDP, GDP. Here and there, it will be thrown in the newspaper. Okay. But apart from GDP, there are many other aggregates. We have GNP, we have NDP, we have NNP, and also we have NI, National Income. We will understand one by one. Have patience. We'll understand one by one. But should you read everything in detail of all these aggregates? For example, GDP, because it is the most important one, will spend at least 2 hours. 2 hours to understand what is GDP. In the same way, should you keep on spending 3 hours, 2 hours in all the indicators? My answer to that is no. Please do not do a detailed study on all these aggregates. UPSC doesn't focus on all of them. It's not relevant for GS paper 3. Maybe for optional paper, everything you'll have to read in detail. For GS paper 3, focus on only one indicator, GDP. Rest of the indicators, I'll tell you how do you calculate them, what is the connection, what is the importance. I'll explain that. That should be more than sufficient. Now, what we are going to discuss? Different types of indicators. The new GDP methodology. This was the question asked by UPSC last year. Last year in the mains, this was the question asked. GDP methodology. Third, concept of per capita income. Pro and counter cyclical, vicious and virtuous cycle. Right, especially the last two, pro and counter, vicious and virtuous, these are from current affairs. These are purely from current affairs. You will not get these from the books, don't worry. And as usual, after this, we'll take up questions. Now, let me start. What is GDP? What do you understand by the term GDP? Right? GDP simply means gross domestic product, and it represents market price of all the final goods and services which are produced in a specific time period in a specific region. For example, we can calculate GDP for India, we calculate GDP for USA, we calculate GDP for Brazil, China, Japan, South Korea, etc. So for a specific time period, how much is the total market price of all the final goods and services produced in that country? I'll repeat, in that country, that is GDP. Right? Now, based on this definition, let me ask you a very simple question. Very simple question. Imagine this bottle is produced in China. I'll repeat the statement. Imagine this bottle is produced in China. Now it has been imported into India and I am consuming. Should the market price of this bottle be included in India's GDP? Very simple question, by the way. Should the market price of the bottle be included in India's GDP? Answer is no. Answer is no. Two people, I don't want to take the names, they are saying yes. Answer is no. Why? I am calculating India's GDP. But where was the bottle produced? Bottle was produced in China. So I hope you understand. Was it produced in India? No. Hence, we will not include the bottle in the GDP of India. We will include the price of the bottle in China's GDP. China's GDP. That's important. Remember this. We'll use this concept again. Don't worry. Now, whenever you calculate GDP, right, we will calculate GDP using three methods. One is called as an output or product value method. Second one is called as an income method. Third one is expenditure method. First one is output method. Second one is income method. Third one is expenditure method. Now, I'll discuss one by one. All the three I'll discuss one by one. But before that, the GDP calculation, whenever you're reading newspapers, the GDP is given for a quarter. Have you come across this? GDP is given for a quarter also. GDP is given for half a financial year also. And GDP is given for full financial year. GDP is also given for full financial year. Now, many of you will be confused. What is this quarter? What is this financial year, etc.? Always remember this. Financial year will start from 1st of April and will continue till 31st of March next year. It is not calendar year. I hope you understand. Calendar year means 1st January to 31st December. All of you are going to end the calendar year very soon. We are not talking about calendar year, financial year. They will use the term financial year, or else they will use the term fiscal, or else they will also use a short form FY. FY is nothing but financial year. So financial year will start from 1st of April in this year and will end on 31st of March next year. So now can I simply say right now we are in the financial year 2023-24? Let me know. Anybody is having a problem with this? Right now we are in the financial year 2023 or 24. And the same way, same thing, they can write it in a different way. Some of them, they will write it like this, 23, 24, same. They will write like this also, financial year 24, same. They will write it as a FY 23, 24. All of them are one and the same. Whatever might be the representation, don't get confused. Don't get confused. Whatever can be the representation, they can write this way, or this way. Or else they will write a fiscal 23-24. All of them are one and the same. Maybe the word they are using, the representation they are making slightly different, but it is one and the same. That is point number one. Point number two, every financial year is broken into 4 parts, which is called as a 4 quarters of 3 consecutive months. I'll repeat the statement. Every financial year is broken into 4 parts of 3 months each, which are 3 consecutive months. For example, April, May, and June. 3 consecutive months. This is called as a first quarter. Correct? Any problem? April, May, and June. 3 months consecutive first quarter. July, August, September. 3 consecutive months, second quarter. Same way, October, November, December, third quarter. January, February, March, fourth quarter. So based on this, can we say we are in the third quarter of fiscal 24? I'm using a statement. Let me know. Can I say we are in the third quarter of fiscal 24? All of you okay with this? This is a right textbook language. This is what is used in the newspaper also. Don't get confused. This is a basic idea. So now GDP can be calculated for every quarter. For second quarter, we'll calculate GDP. Third quarter, we'll calculate GDP. Fourth quarter also will calculate GDP. Right? We can also calculate GDP for half a financial year, that is 2 quarters. We can also calculate GDP for full financial year, that is sum total of all the 4 quarters. So GDP can be calculated either of these ways. Now, who will calculate GDP in India? There is one authority by the name of NSO, National Statistics Office. NSO is the authority. It is part of one of the ministries, Ministry of Statistics. Under Government of India, there is a ministry, and under the ministry, there is a one authority, National Statistics Office. It is this office which will publish GDP for India. That is a third point. Next important point, how do we calculate GDP? How do we calculate GDP? Three methods. One is output method, second one is the income method, third one is expenditure method. Right? Income, output, and expenditure. Let me start with the first one, which is the most important one, output or product value method. Let me start with a very simple example. Very simple example. Imagine 20 bottles have been produced in India, and this is the only product which is manufactured. Okay, right? Take it as a simplest example so that you understand the concept. Imagine only bottles are produced in India, nothing else, only bottles. And in this year, how many bottles we have produced? 20 bottles. So what is the total final goods or services produced in India? 20 units. And what is the market price? Let's say hypothetically, the market price is 100 rupees per unit. So can I simply say the GDP for India will be 2000 rupees? Anybody has a problem? Please do let me know. GDP for India will be simply 20 into 100, 2000 rupees. So this is one way to calculate GDP, which is called as the output method or product value method. And this is very, very important. Tomorrow we'll discuss in detail about this methodology. Can I go to the second methodology? Let me know. Anybody has a problem with the first methodology? What is total output? My dear, how many final goods and services we have produced? How many final goods and services we have produced? And in the example, what was the example I took? I said 20 bottles have been produced, final goods and services. Correct? Now that is the first methodology. Second methodology, income method. Second methodology, income method. Now what is this income method? Let me take you back to the yesterday's class. Do you remember 4 factors of production? Let me know. Do you remember 4 factors of production? Right? What were the 4 factors of production? The 4 factors of production, right? I'll write the heading so that you understand it later. Income method. Okay, 4 factors of production: land, labor, capital, and entrepreneurship. Correct? Land, labor, capital, and entrepreneurship. Okay, now let's start. Let's say, was that? Okay, let's say the bottle's market price. Let's say the bottle's market price is 100 rupees. Now, if I ask you, how did you arrive at 100 rupees? How did you arrive at 100 rupees? Can I say, you will simply tell me, sir, land cost was 10 rupee, labor cost was 20, capital cost was 30, and entrepreneurship, that is profit, was 40 rupees. This is how you will tell me the breakup. And now as a result of all of this, you will say bottle has a price of 100. Of course, taxation is there, subsidy is there. Wait for it. I will tell you tomorrow how subsidies are adjusted, how taxes are adjusted. Have patience. Now tell me, is it okay? If you arrive at 100 rupee for this bottle, this is generally how you will calculate the cost. Anybody has a problem? This is generally how you will calculate the cost. Now, look at the other side. If you are paying rent of 10 rupee on the land, can I say factor income generated in the economy on land will be 10 rupee? Please participate and do let me know. According to you, out of 100 rupee for this bottle, right? Let's say 10 rupee is for land, that is rent. Can I also say that 10 rupees is nothing but factor income generated in economy? Correct? Second, you paid 20 rupees for labor. As a company, you paid 20 rupees for the labor, which also means factor income of labor is 20 rupees in the economy. Same thing, can I write it for capital as well as entrepreneurship? At least now, is it okay? Same explanation. I'll write it for the capital as well as entrepreneurship. Right now, please tell me if factor incomes are calculated in India. In this example, if the sum total of factor incomes are calculated in India, can I say the sum total of factor incomes will be 100 rupees here? Everybody agrees? Let me know. Everybody agrees. Anybody has a problem? And if only one bottle is produced, I'm going to the next point now. If only one bottle is produced, GDP of India through production method will be 100. GDP of India through income method will also become 100. So can I say whether you are calculating GDP through production method or income method, value should be one and the same? Correct? Anybody has a problem? These are conceptual understandings. Once you understand, it's a cakewalk. It's absolutely a cakewalk. You need to understand it, right? So again, understand the logic here. One is production method. Get the sum total of all the final goods and services and market price. That will give you GDP through production method. But what is the idea? When you're producing, you are incurring expenditure on land, labor, capital, and entrepreneurship as a company, which also means the cost on land for a company is an income. It is income for service provider. Labor cost is for the company, but labor wages are income for the service provider. So if I want to calculate GDP through income method, I will take the sum total. I will take the sum total of all the factor incomes in India. I'll take the sum total of all the factor incomes. That will give me GDP through income method. Third one, the expenditure method. Third one is expenditure method. Now, what is this expenditure method? How do we calculate GDP through expenditure method? Let's start. Under expenditure method, let's assume either government or private sector or you and me, that is households. We are the three economic agents: the government, private sector, and households. So any goods and services that is purchased in India, it has to be purchased either by the government or by the private sector or by households. All of you are okay? Anybody has a problem with this? Any expenditure that is done in India to purchase goods and services, either the government should spend money on it, or you and me, that is households, should spend money on it, or private sector should spend money on it. That's it. Nobody else is left out. So I'll simply say, some of you are saying, sir, what about temples, NGOs, etc.? All of them will come under part of households. All of them are counted as part of households, right? Part of households only. Now let's say you and me, households have spent certain amount of money. I'll simply call it as, I'll take a number so that you understand, 200 rupees. We have purchased goods and services, final goods and services worth 200 rupees. Now, apart from this, companies also have purchased the final goods and services. Let's take it as 300 rupees. This is household. This is firms. And let's say government also has spent money to purchase final goods and services. Let's take it as 500 rupees. This is government. Now, please tell me, because the government, household, and firms have spent 200, 300, 500, should I say 1000 rupees is the GDP of India? Think logically, by the way. Should I say 1000 rupees is the GDP of India? No, answer is wrong. Why? Some of the goods which have been produced in India, they have been exported. Correct? I hope you understand this. Some of the goods which have been produced in India, they have been exported. And because we have exported, 1000 rupees is the GDP of India. No, answer is wrong. Why? Some of the goods which have been produced in India, they have been exported. And because we have exported, Did we include them in 200, 300 and 500? Did we include them in these numbers? No, we have not included. But because they have been produced in India, they should be counted as part of India's GDP. So I will add value of exports. I will add value of exports. Let's throw an arbitrary number. Let's say value of exports is 200 rupees. Is it giving me a GDP? No, even now it is not GDP. Why? Whatever has been purchased by us, the government as well as companies, don't you think some of them is imported? All of you okay with this? Don't you think some of them is imported into India? Now, if it is imported, we should not count it as part of India's GDP. It is part of some other country's GDP. So what I'll do? I will do minus imports. That is, let's assume imports are worth 100 rupees. Now, please tell me, after doing all of this, am I getting, I'll give a statement, think of it. Am I getting the market price of all the goods and services which are produced in India? Right? Think of it. After doing all these adjustments, that is total expenditure by households, the government, the companies, adding exports, subtracting imports. After doing all these circus, am I getting the market price of all the goods and services which are produced in India? Answer is yes. Answer is simply yes. This is called as expenditure method. This is called as expenditure method. And instead of writing household, firms, government, etc., they will use a technical names here. C, consumer expenditure. That is household expenditure. I is investment done by the companies, firms, which have purchased final goods and services. G is government expenditure on final goods and services. X is exports and M is imports. The formula is very simple. C plus, right? I'll write it here. It is a C plus I plus G plus bracket X minus M, where X is exports and I is imports. All of you okay with this? All of you okay? Right, so this is one more methodology to calculate GDP. This is called as expenditure method. Now, next important point, whether you calculate GDP using expenditure method, whether you calculate GDP using production method, and right, let's say income method, value should always be one and the same. Value should always be one and the same. Value should always be one and the same. How? Let me prove it. Let me prove it here. Look at this example. I'm taking very simple example just to make you understand. Just to make you understand. I don't expect UPSC to ask you this calculation, but understand why the value should be one and the same. I'm imagining one country where only one final good is produced. I'm imagining one country where only one final good is produced. Nothing is exported, nothing is imported. And if there is an export and import, adjust it. You will get the idea. Let's say, right, let's assume this bottle. Right, let's assume this is the only final good produced in India this year. Nothing is exported, nothing is imported. Let's start. There is a company B. I am the owner of company B. I want to manufacture this bottle, sell it at 1000 rupees in the market and earn 1000 rupees. But to manufacture the bottle, I will require intermediary good, that is steel. I'll require steel. So what I'll do? I will purchase a steel at 500 rupees. I repeat, I'll purchase a steel at 500 rupees from company A, use the steel, manufacture the bottle, sell it in the market at 1000 rupees. Company A has arrived at 500 rupees because the cost of the labor is 100 rupee and profit that the company wants to earn is 400. I, as the owner of company B, I will purchase it at 500. Just a second. I'll purchase it at 500. Then I will pay labor cost of 200 and I want to earn a profit of 300. Hence, I will sell the product at 1000 rupees to you. You are a customer. let's start. Let's start all of this. Now, right, production value method. How do we calculate GDP? Through production value method. First, how many final goods have been produced in this example? Please participate. How many final goods are produced in this example? Only one final good. And what is the market price of this good? 1000 rupee. Market price is 1000 rupee. So 1 into 1000, your GDP will be 1000 rupee. So production method, your GDP is 1000. Let me go to the second method, income method. What are all the factor incomes which have been generated in this example? How many factor incomes have been generated? Company A, 2 factor incomes. Company B, 2 factor incomes. Get the sum total of all the factor incomes. Get the sum total of all the factor incomes. Again, you will get the same number, 1000 rupee. All of you okay? Anybody has a problem? Right? Anybody has a problem? It's simply 1000. That is 100 plus 400 plus 200 plus 300. You will get 1000 rupee. Now come to the third method, expenditure method. Is there any import in this example? No. Is there any export in this example? No. Right? How much is the total expenditure done by the government, firms, as well as right? Let's say the households. The total expenditure done is simply 1000 rupees. Now, please tell me. At least now, all of you will agree whether you calculate GDP using expenditure, production, or income method. Value should be one and the same. Of course, in calculation, in reality, there will be issues. But at least theoretically, the value under all the 3 methods should be one and the same. Right? That is one more very important point. Please remember this. Okay. Now, these are certain important points regarding the concept of GDP. Right? Now, coming to the next point. Very recently, that is starting from 2015. From 2015, Government of India has made a change. How do we calculate GDP using production methodology? Is it okay? I'll repeat the statement. Starting 2015, Government of India has made certain changes as to how you calculate GDP using output or production method. Right? And that was the question which was asked by UPSC last year in the mains. Now, what were the changes that were introduced by the government? And when I say government, basically the authority was NSO. In fact, earlier it was not NSO, it was CSO. There was one more authority. Now it has been merged into one more authority. We have NSO today. So starting 2015, we have made a change in the production methodology. Now, what are the changes that we have introduced? We'll just have a look at it. We'll not discuss anything. First one is base year has been changed. Earlier, the base year was 2004 and 5. Now the base year is 11 and 12. Now, before you start asking me, sir, what is base year? Tell me, I want to know what is base year. Read the next statement. When I discuss inflation, there's a concept called as GDP deflator. While discussing that, I will tell you what is the concept of a base year. Have patience. Second very important change. Earlier, we used to collect data. Right? Collection of data means what? Imagine you are the government. Okay? Imagine you are the government. Now, please tell me, you want to find out what is the market price of all the goods and services which are produced in India. For that, you should be collecting the data from all the companies in India. All of you agree with me? You should be collecting data from the companies in India. Otherwise, how will you come to know what is the number of final goods produced in India? How will you come to know what is the market price of the goods in India? So you want to calculate how many goods are produced, final goods. So you will have to collect data from the companies. And second question, please participate. Almost at the end. We'll stop after this, don't worry. Is it possible for you to collect data from all the companies, all the producers in India? Think of it. Please think logically always. Is it possible for you to collect production data from all the producers in India? Whoever is producing, whoever is manufacturing anything in India, whoever is contributing to goods and services, will you be able to collect the data? Not possible. Not possible. I'll tell you why. Reason being, large number of service providers, large number of middlemen, large number of producers in India, they are not registered. Can I give you one example? I'll give a very simple example. Once the class is over, a lot of you, especially bachelors, a lot of you will go outside and you will have a cup of tea on the roadside. Please tell me, the person who is selling tea to you, a final good, do you think the person is registered with the government? Right? Is this making any sense to you or not? Right? Do you think all of them, right? For example, if you're in Delhi, old Rajendra Nagar or somewhere, you will go to have, right, let's say a large cup of ginger tea. You will go to have, right, parathas now, right, mooli ki paratha, aloo ka paratha, etc. Do you think all of them are registered with the government of India? No, they are not registered. So I hope you understand, very, very difficult to collect the data. They'll conduct surveys. Lot of surveys are conducted by the government, but it's very difficult to collect the data from all these right suppliers or let's say contributors to the Indian economy. That is the reason government of India has set up a facility. A new portal has been set up where around 5 lakh companies, 5 lakh companies identified by the government, they will have to submit production data to the government. Is it okay? And that setup, that portal, that website I'm referring to, it is called as Ministry of Corporate Affairs 21, MCA 21 database. Ministry of Corporate Affairs 21 portal has been set up and around 5 lakh companies have been identified by the government. They have been asked to deposit this data or give this data to the government of India, specifically for NSO to calculate the GDP. Okay, right? Now, third and fourth will start tomorrow. Shifted from factor cost to market prices, right? And GVA methodology will start tomorrow. We'll understand that tomorrow. Okay. Now, anybody has an issue or question regarding what I've discussed, please do let me know. Sir, why we include only GFCF and not GCF? Please understand. The GFCF, the investment by the firms in capital goods, especially in these kind of assets, it is taken as a proxy. It is taken as a proxy to measure how much is the gross fixed capital formation that is happening. It is taken as a proxy. It is taken as an indicator to calculate how much is the GFCF that is done in the economy. And some of you are asking, sir, what about stocks? Is the calculation of stocks involved? Of course, yes, even the stocks are involved. In fact, there is a component called as change in stocks, CIS, change in stocks. Even that change in the stocks is also included whenever you calculate a GDP using, I repeat, using production method. Using production method. Okay, because again some of you will ask, sir, why not raw material counted in case of expenditure method? Right? I hope some of you are going to ask me this. Why not? Because the companies will invest money on raw material. Why are you not counting the raw material expenditure when you're calculating expenditure method? My dear, you please tell me. I'll ask you a very simple question. Imagine I spent 20 rupees to purchase a steel which I've used to manufacture bottle. Now please tell me, if the price of the bottle is 100, does it not mean it is inclusive of raw material cost here? Yes or no? Right? The final goods, the price for the final goods already includes cost of raw materials. Now in the expenditure method, have a look at this, right? Look at this. In the expenditure method, I'm saying gross fixed capital formation. If I include even the raw material cost, because the company has spent money on raw material cost, please tell me, is it not leading to double counting? Correct? Is it not leading to double counting? Because let's say the company has spent 20 rupees to purchase steel. I will write 20 also. I'll add 20 also. But when I have purchased, when the customer has purchased the bottle, customer will pay 100 rupees. So the steel price has been included in 100 rupee also in, right, the the raw material cost also, right? That is a expenditure done by the companies. That is the precise reason we generally do not include raw material cost when you're calculating through expenditure method. But when you're calculating through output method, we include the change in stocks. We include change in stocks in output method. Okay. Loan given out by a bank can also be used for expenditure purely. If we do savings by reducing expenditure, then the demand will reduce. Okay, what is the problem then? Loan given out by bank can also be used for expenditure. If you are going to use a loan for purchasing a house, does it not mean it is going to generate demand for housing? If you're going to use the loan for purchasing a vehicle, is it not creating a demand for a vehicle production? And moreover, if you followed the discussion, I told you investment simply refers to that part of the savings which will actually contribute for acquisition of the capital goods, for acquiring capital goods. Right? Look at it. Why IED is positive and negative, but PED is always positive? My dear, please understand. In case of income elasticity of a demand, in case of income elasticity of a demand, we are trying to find out what is the direction of movement of income and demand. Understand this carefully. In which direction they are moving, that is the focus. Whereas in case of price elasticity of demand, we want to find out the magnitude of the change. I hope you understand this. I'll repeat the statement again. In case of IED, we are trying to find out movement, that is the directional movement of income and demand, negative, positive. Whereas in case of PED, we are trying to find out the magnitude of the change. Is it changing by more than 10%, more than 20%, more than 30%, more than change in the price? What is the magnitude of the change? That is the reason in PED, we are not worried about negative or positive symbols. Whereas in ID, because it is a directional observation, we'll focus on negative and positive. Okay. Any other question? Expenditure is mostly used by NSO. Yes, NSO uses expenditure method as well as production method. Generally, they will give data under expenditure as well as production method. Unsold goods from the stock. You are a company. You have produced goods. Right? In this year, you have not been able to sell the goods. Because you have not sold, doesn't mean you are not counting it in the GDP number. Understand this very carefully. I'll give a very simple example. Imagine this is the only bottle which is produced in India. Only bottle which is produced in India. Which means sum of factor incomes will be 100 rupees. Please participate. I'll stop after this. Right? Sum of factor incomes will be 100 rupees for the bottle. If you calculate GDP using factor incomes, you will get 100 rupee. But if you're not able to sell it, if you have not sold it in the market, doesn't mean GDP is equal to 0. It simply means the product has been produced, the good has been produced, it has remained unsold, even then it will be counted as part of GDP. Why? Because under factor incomes, the expenditure already incurred. You have calculated using factor incomes, GDP is 100. Even though it is unsold, this will be counted as part of GDP under under production method. Okay, that is how, right, the change in stocks is included in the production method. Okay. If there are a lot of companies not registered, then GST calculation is not accurate. My dear, for even GST, there are certain criteria. You should be having a revenue of this much. Your revenue sales should be this much. Only then it is compulsory for you to be registered under GST. There are conditionalities even to be registered under GST. Okay. Okay, done. So let me stop the discussion today here. Tomorrow we will pick it up from this particular point, that is basically the factor cost and market price as well as GVA. Lot of technical aspects will be discussed tomorrow. Be ready, right? Get ready for the tomorrow's class. Okay, so take care. Have a great day ahead. Have a good day. Okay, see you tomorrow.